Quality Sports brought to you by Window Nation. Buy 4 windows, get 4 free, plus get no payments or interest for 2 years. The offer ends soon, so schedule your quote right now at windownation.com. Cavaliers committed 10 turnovers in the first quarter. It would cost them 17 points. Cavs would rally from 23 points down, but ended up losing Oklahoma City 121-113. Head coach Kenny Axon, how that sloppy start, way too much.
10 turnovers, was it, in the first quarter? Story of the game. We're lucky. We cut it to 15, even after 10 turnovers. So it's kind of the story of the game. And we got down in such a big hole, fought back, had a chance. But you can't get off to a start like that on the road, turn the ball over like that on the road.
Thunder snapping the Cavs' 7-game winning streak despite Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Jalen Williams out because of injuries. James Harden, Donovan Mitchell, and Sam Merrill each with 20 points in the loss. Reports of the Guardians going to be signing first baseman Rhys Hoskins to a minor league contract once he passes a physical. Hoskins, who's already in good years, going to get $1.5 million if he makes the big league roster. Guardians in Mesa on Sunday blanked the Athletics 6-0. Parker Messick, spring debut, 2 scoreless innings, gives up no hits, walked 3, strikeout 1. Guardians 3-0 to start things off in Arizona this spring. At the Winter Olympics, men's hockey gold medal game on Sunday. They beat Canada in overtime 2-1 and claimed the gold medal for the first time since 1980. With the Winter Olympics coming to a close on Sunday, the United States ends up with 12 gold medals, the most the country's ever won at the Winter Games. Now can find 92.3 The Fan on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, get the best content from our shows each and every weekday. That's 92.3 The Fan on YouTube. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas. Up next, time for the Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima here on 92.3 The Fan.
The Afternoon Drive.
If your top-end quarterback talent is Malik Willis and Daniel Jones, you don't have top-end talent. I'm not overspending. I'm not overcommitting to any one of these players because they're not top-end.
This offseason just kind of stinks in many ways from a quarterback perspective. So if you have to just take a year, as much as I hate taking a year where you're just not very competitive and you're just trying to build on things, if you have to take a year to then go hard in 2027, I'd rather you waited and then found a quarterback you love than trying to force it with a quarterback that isn't actually any good.
The Afternoon Drive. Weekdays starting at 2. We are Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan. The Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima.
Ellis gets it to Mitchell. His 3 won't go. Holmgren the rebound, and that will do it. The Thunder snap the Cavs' 7-game winning streak. 121-113 the final.
10 turnovers, was it, in the first quarter? Story of the game. We're lucky. We cut it to 15. Even after 10 turnovers, so that was kind of the story of the game, and we got down in such a big hole, fought back, had a chance, but you can't get off to a start like that on the road, turn the ball over like that on the road.
Simple mistakes. I mean, obviously, yeah, it's tough, but I'm not really focused on that primarily. I mean, we fixed it for the rest of the game, so we got to clean that up. And credit to them, they came out strong, but for us, we were able to recoup and get better throughout the game, and missed some easy looks, had some crucial defensive rebounds that we couldn't get. At the end of the day, like that's ultimately what cost us.
When you're playing against them consistently, then you get more, comfortable, more used to it, then you can kind of adjust to it. But there are a handful of teams that play like that. And in reality, that's what you're going to have to face when you get deeper in the postseason.
This is Cleveland's Sports Radio, 92.3 The Fan.
Audio courtesy ESPN. Well, clearly I take it all back. I was wrong last week, and I take everything back. You guys are silly. Not all you guys. Some of you guys are absolutely silly. I didn't look at anything yesterday, and then after the game, I watched the whole game, and then after the game, it was like an hour that passed, and I wasn't even thinking anything of it, and I checked my phone, and I looked down, and I'm like, oh, yeah, really? Really? So there were people who have been quiet here over the. You're right. You are right. There is a segment of Cavs fans out there that want them to lose. There's no doubt about it. There is, without a doubt, there is a weird segment tone of Cavs fans that want them to lose to prove some point. I don't know what it was, but it was just a beating online. I didn't even realize it. I swear to God, I didn't even see it. The game ended when it ended, 3:30?
Yeah.
And it was like 4:30, 5 o'clock. I'm doing some things at the desk, and I'm like, I look at my phone, I go, you got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me. I go, I'm sorry. I penciled them in to make the finals. Is the Oklahoma City Thunder an Eastern Conference team? No. Okay, so what's changed? I need to know what changed.
Well,
I'm already annoyed.
You knew what happened at the end of the week. Really, I think it was like Wednesday where we started to talk about the upcoming stretch of games for the Cavs, whether they could keep the win streak going. They were the hottest team in the NBA. And I was like, oh, it's such a bummer. We're not going to get, the teams fully healthy on Sunday. And, we still had the Charlotte game to talk about. We had the Charlotte play-by-play voice, Eric Collins, on Friday. He was great. So it was tough to, look ahead. But I'm like, yeah, I know, some of their best players are not going to be playing in this game for Oklahoma City.
I told you on Friday. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I told you on Friday. I said that you're in a bad spot because if you go out there and win, it's like, well, they didn't have
you weren't going to get
SGA.
credit for it. Yeah.
But if you lose, I thought it was going to hit the fan with some people. I didn't think it was going to hit the fan as much as it did after that loss.
Well, yeah, it's so funny. It's like all of a sudden people came out of the woodwork yesterday that I hadn't heard from in a month because we've been so positive about the team. And there's this weird faction of stubborn Cavs fans that will forever, especially if Darius, who's still banged up, especially if he ends up winning with the Clippers down the road, anything substantial, they're going to say the core four wasn't given a chance. And, we will all sit here and roll our eyes and say they weren't.
Yeah.
They play a lot of games together. They play a lot of seasons together. And, 3 or 4 years in the NBA is kind of an eternity. I mean, how many teams
got a chance?
How many teams get to keep their core players for more than 4 years? I mean,
old teams,
there aren't
teams
a ton
from bygone eras, basically, I think.
Yeah, not in modern day NBA. There just aren't. It's just because of the cap, because of the way that the finances are in the NBA, the way guys get injured or age out. That's all part of it. So it's weird that they came out of the woodwork yesterday in a game that, you heard Kenny Atkinson in the open that Owen put together. 10 turnovers. They had 5 in the first 2 minutes. They were down at one point. I think they were down 28-5, and it should have been 33. They missed 2 wide open threes. Yeah. You rarely see a score like that. I don't care what teams are playing against each other.
That was with 4 minutes left in the first quarter. They ended up with 16 turnovers altogether, but they had 10 in the first quarter.
When they cut it down to 9 at the half, I'm like, all right, this could get on. Did you like Sam Merrill in for Dean Wade to start the second half?
Yeah, they needed to find something.
They really got some heat going right there.
Well, and Sam Merrill was the only guy that had a good game for the Cavs yesterday. Boy, you knew it was rough when in the second quarter, I counted 2 different declarations by who's the play-by-play? Yes, I forgot his name.
Ryan Ruocco.
Yeah, Ryan Ruocco. 2 different declarations late in the second quarter. The first was, Evan Mobley has scored for the first time today. And then a few minutes later, Jared Allen has scored for the first time today. And I was like, oh, yeah, those guys are playing. It was just a horrendous game for almost basically everybody either played a terrible game or an average game. And then Sam Merrill was the only reason we were in that game at all. And so it was pretty amazing that in the fourth quarter, maybe it's because it's the NBA and you're always going to be, close as long as you're playing hard. And they obviously played really, really hard defensively in the second half, except when it came to rebounds, which is something we're going to be talking about, is going to continue to be a theme the rest of the year.
Oh, yeah.
But
because the point you made was pretty stout.
But when you go on the road, and I know people started commenting on the weird scheduling in the NBA because now after a week off, they got to get all these games in. And for the Cavs, it's the third time in 4 games and an early game. And it's just all that. It's no excuse. I mean, it's the NBA, whatever. It's not like the Cavs didn't have enough talent to win. They certainly did. But might explain away some of their misgivings in the first quarter.
Yeah, I would. Well, my whole thing is hey, a loss is a loss is a loss. And it's a loss. I just didn't think it was going to I thought if they were going to go out there and get smashed all game long, I would have been upset. I wasn't that upset. I'm disappointed they lost the game, obviously, but I didn't see any of the reaction online until about an hour and a half later. I told you, and I just did not believe. I couldn't believe the reaction that a lot of people had, and I'm going, well, am I just missing on this? It's February 22nd. I mean, people are losing their minds on this. And I said, okay, it obviously it would have been easier if they would have won and we could have been in here playing Michael Stanley and had a lot of fun with it. But even then, we would have probably second-guessed it because there's no Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in the game. But either way, I was just surprised. Are there people who think that this is like the same old Cavs? I guess that's how I have to ask it. 216-474-0092. Because I was really taken aback by some of the reaction I saw. And I wanted to know, I kind of wanted to know from you, is that real life? Because I think there's definitely a difference. Like, we do this all the time with our quarterbacks, especially one in particular. I think time has proven over the last year, this computer is not real life compared to what Browns fans, Cleveland fans feel every day. And I'm wondering if it's the same way with the Cavs yesterday. Like, it was a disappointment to lose, but I can't look at this and go, same old sorry-ass situation with these Cavs and big lights, and they shrink. There are two guys in particular that need to step up their game, certainly, and I don't like that somehow Isaiah Hartenstein is a kryptonite. He's a good player. I respect him, don't get me wrong, but he is this kryptonite for Jared Allen. Like, every time he's on the floor, he just gets hammered. Well, okay, Isaiah Hartenstein's not playing for anybody in the East right now, so I still stick with where I had him, but I kind of want to know if that's real, or if this is just people had a few pops. Maybe they went from hockey to the Cavs game, and you went from this euphoria of fun to the way the Cavs game started, and they got back into the game, but the way it ended was a bad feel. I don't know. I just want to know if that's real.
I think the hockey had something to do with it. It
probably did.
Because it was the first sports week. Because Super Bowl Sunday is not a sports day, right? It's one event, but you don't get a lot of sports leading up to the actual game, right? You woke up at 8 a.m. There was something really big that happened. It came out good for the home team, for us, right? And then you kind of rolled right in. You had like an hour off, and then there was Shaq and Chuck and Kenny, and got to do that again, which a lot of us haven't seen that since TNT days. Right into this game that's supposed to be great, and then they were down by 23. They scored 5 points in the first 8 minutes.
It was a terrible start. Don't get me wrong. But I was like, oh, man, this is just the vitriol.
Well, and Oklahoma State didn't miss. I mean, that's part of it. Did you see the threes they were throwing?
A guy named Isaiah Joe was killing us.
He's a really good streak shooter. He can shoot from anywhere.
And if you're a casual NBA fan like myself, you had no clue that there was a guy named Isaiah Joe.
Well, it's Sam Merrill, right? I mean, that's exactly what – and Sam Merrill has been one of the best shooters.
They brought it up in the pregame. He's been their leading scorer with SGA out.
Yeah.
So that was the only way I knew to even pay attention to him. But I couldn't believe they were getting killed by that. I mean, you had at least seen Lou Dort in the finals last year.
Uh-huh.
That's one of the things that, there's like every sport, there's the passive group of NBA fans, and then they're the people that watch every game and, kind of monitor the league. And so the people that are passive, when the Cavs were losing all these terrible games in the first 2 months of the year to that Golden State team that you didn't know any of those guys. I think there was a Wizards game that they struggled tooth and nail. These tanking teams, earlier in the year. And you're like, I've never heard of any of these guys. And it just goes to show you that in that league, every team now, I love when people, they dog today's game and they act like these guys don't try hard. And I'm like, how do you guard the full allotment of space in the NBA? You really have to run out to guys 35 feet from the basket because guys you've never heard of can all get hot from three.
Yeah.
I think 6 guys for Oklahoma City last night had multiple three-pointers. And, again, you brought up Isaiah Joe. It was coming from every direction, man. They were getting bombarded from way out. And it's just really tough to try to scramble around and cover that and then add to the fact you're turning the ball over and you're giving them baskets. So in the half court, they're killing you from all over the place. And then, oh, by the way, in transition, because you're turning the ball over, they're coming down and scoring. So it was a perfect storm to get you really far behind. And that's why I was like, in the fourth quarter, I'm like, this is a miracle. This is a miracle that we are in this game. And nobody's playing well outside of Sam Merrill.
I actually left the game going, oh, wait, they can come back from that big down. That was the only benefit of being down as big as they were. It's like, there's still 40 minutes left in this game.
Well,
they're getting murdered, and there's 40 minutes left. There's time to come back.
I felt the same way. I'm sorry. They were down 19-5 at one point, and I'm like, all right, this is awful. They're turning the ball over like crazy, but I just don't feel there's some games, where the moment they tip off, everybody has a bad one, and they've had a few of those. You're right. But I just didn't feel that they would be, and they took the lead in the third quarter. I didn't feel that they would be completely boat race throughout the entire game. So I came away, I was like, well, if they have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, maybe that's a different outcome. I have to understand that. But at the same time of it, I was not just so exceedingly upset. And I just, seriously, game ended, turned the game off, worked at the desk, did some things, whatever. I checked my phone. It's 5 o'clock. I'm about to go upstairs. Check my phone, and it's just, well, are you, there's still finals team, huh? Huh? Really? Do you watch basketball? Is it still fine? I go, all right, I want to know if that's real life. I want to know if that's really how a Cavs fan feels this morning. Or if that's just the internet.
Well, and then the other thing.
And I'm willing to guess it's more the internet, but I kind of want to know from
the other thing I kept getting, do you think anybody is afraid to play the Cavs in the playoffs? And I'm like, well, welcome to the Eastern Conference. Welcome to what we've said about the Eastern Conference all year, that nobody is afraid of anybody in the East, that it's wide open. Now, I do have some unfortunate news, Kenny.
What?
And, we've already flipped the switch, but this is really unfortunate news.
What?
The Cavaliers are no longer the favorites to come out of the Eastern Conference. So, it's what have you done for me lately?
What changed? They just lost a game to a Western Conference team?
They're not even second. They are now third. But all three teams are jumbled right. It's Detroit,
Boston, New York. Oh.
Detroit, Boston. And, you're still ahead, by the way, of the Knicks, who you play
tomorrow night
in a pretty big game, because you go from winning all these games, you're the talk of the league, hottest team in the league. Now you want to talk about a little bit of regular season pressure. You don't typically get a lot of regular season pressure, but you don't want to lose this one after losing the way you did on the road to a bunch of Oklahoma City's backups.
216-474-0092. Well, should I tap the brakes a little bit? Even though, you don't really pump brakes anymore. Should I tap the brakes a little bit on the Cavs? Or is that just the internet? Because I felt that, hey, it was a game they lost. Wish they would have won. But I wasn't ready to rip the couch cushions apart over the loss and do a giant I told you so. I didn't feel that way when they made the trade. But it just seemed to be a giant I told you so, like, well, you guys have been waiting for a shoe to drop here, haven't you? And I can't even say it's the other one. 216-474-0092. That, and it was a monumental happening yesterday midday. A monumental achievement. I just don't know personally how much of a difference it's going to make. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima, what that achievement is, I think a lot of people know. But we'll tell you, it's 6:43 on the Fan.
It's Anthony Lima for Fanatic Sportsbook.
Anthony Lima for Ryan Young and the Young Team, which still has the way to give you complete control of your listing through their instant cash offer. Gives you more flexibility than ever before. That's why I trust the Young Team. You should too. Google the Young Team and start packing.
Catch the latest Browns news all offseason long. Stream us on the Odyssey app and on your smart speaker by telling Alexa to play 92.3 The Fan.
Coming up at 8:20, Justin Terminy going to join us on the show, Sirius XM NBA Radio, the host of NBA Today. Are the Cavs headed to the finals, or was yesterday a dose of reality? A lot of people saying, Ken, you going to change your tune? Like, no, I'm not going to go back on what I said on Friday based on one game against Oklahoma City. Now, I got to admit, they go out there and they lose to New York, and then who they got later on this week? Detroit at Detroit. I know there's Milwaukee mixed in there, too. They go out and they lose to New York and at Detroit. Maybe I'll change my tune next Monday.
Well,
maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit.
Part of it is, obviously, there's going to be, and James Harden came in so seamlessly, like no issues to incorporate him and play in big fourth quarter moments. You saw it again with Charlotte. We're not really going to talk much about the Charlotte game today. But if you noticed again, like it was James Harden with the ball in his hands in the fourth quarter. Yeah. And they kind of ended up in the fourth quarter taking off. And again, it's like, man, you really appreciate like the basketball genius that he has. And Donovan Mitchell was like, okay with it. And so that made us think this is easy. This is easy. Just, hey, another fourth quarter, like the Nuggets game. Like, all right, another fourth quarter, James Harden, roll out the balls, barely practice. They still, by the way, have barely practiced since he's been with the team because, you know, you had the All-Star break. These guys don't just stay in Cleveland and get in the bunker and start, you know, going to the lab. That's not really how the NBA works. Like, these guys have barely been together, and now you're going up against teams who have. And you can say what you want about Oklahoma City and a bunch of their backups. Well, everybody knows Oklahoma City has drafted better than everybody over the last, 5 years. They are incredible. Their roster is insane. They have guys coming off the bench that people that watch the league are like, yep, he's good. Yep, he's good. Yep, he's good. And we're trying to make all this work in like record time. Teams that make trades like the Cavs make don't go to the NBA Finals. It almost never happens.
Well, I thought I saw two different spots late in the game, right? Harden took a three. They closed out hard on him, and he hit it. It looked like there was no doubt from the minute that he jumped off the floor that it was going to go in. And then Mobley took a three that they had a chance to,
cut
put themselves to two,
three
I think.
Or two, yeah.
Yeah, and nobody got within 15 feet of him.
And nobody thought it was going
right,
in.
And nobody thought, I didn't think it was going to, Evan didn't think it was going, nobody did. And it didn't go in. And that was basically, oh, there goes the game right there, right? And
that was their chance, yeah.
But that's where I look at in the playoffs, right? You have a guy like James Harden that you can kick the ball out to. They're going to close out hard on him. And even if he misses, you got more opportunities down low for the rebound and all that. And we don't have to rely on Evan Mobley to take those threes at the late in the game if we don't have to, right?
Can I go back to something real quick? You said it almost never happens. Teams that make trades and they end up going to the finals. See, that was one of the first things I thought of when they made the trade for James Harden. I go, well, I was excited for the trade. I wanted the trade to happen. So I got what I wanted. But I also said, I go, well, usually trades like this are made during the offseason because you get a year runway, a season runway to go up to the postseason. So I got to ask you, did you think that you didn't say it on Friday. Did you think it was foolish of me to say what I said on Friday?
No, the only thing I was getting was kind of questioning with you is your level of confidence. Like I was feeling pretty damn good about the Cavs too. Like I said, I think I'm picking us now, and I wasn't saying that all year. Obviously, I thought they had no chance before they made the trade. But after the trade, provided they stay healthy and then, figure this out on the fly, like I'm like, all right, I actually think they can pull this off. Now, you said pencil. You didn't say Sharpie. You weren't Sharpieing them into the finals. But you kept saying you're penciling them in. And I'm like, well, it's going to be hard. Like, these series are going to be brutally, brutally hard.
Yeah.
And Detroit continues to win. The Knicks, even though their fans are on edge, it seems, with their team. And now we don't know what to do with Boston.
If you see it, if yesterday was any indication, and it might very well be, there were times where, when Lonzo Ball called himself the scapegoat, it's funny because obviously he's not. But I think at times Darius may have felt like he was a scapegoat in all this, because it's the same. This is where it is the same old story and the same old Cavs. Jared Allen gets challenged inside by a big. Jared Allen folds. Evan Mobley gets challenged inside by a big. Evan Mobley folds. These are both fabulous players. But when you see a big body who is actually able to do what needs to be done, which means body on body, play tough, play physical, own the boards.
I mean, Chet Holmgren, look at him. He got 15 rebounds. There
was one goaltending call that they missed on him, but either way.
That was a huge swing, too, because they came right down after that and hit a three, I think. That's a huge, huge change in that game.
But you're right. I mean, Chet Holmgren is about, what, he weighs as much as you do, and he's 7 feet tall?
He got 15 rebounds.
And he got 15 rebounds in that. Like, that's part of this. It's where, Darius Garland got a lot of help. Darius Garland was number 4 overall pick. They picked Darius over Colin. Darius caught a lot of hell. But if this thing doesn't do it, I think the one catalyst that a lot of people can look at, and it's something that you've complained about for years, friends, but it's also never been the biggest thing, because the biggest thing was always Darius Garland, is just getting stoned inside. Because you mentioned, nobody's afraid of the Cavs. Nobody's afraid of the Cavs front court.
Well,
nobody.
Immediately. And that's funny because...
And that is a concern.
What big men have been playing better than Jared Allen over the last month? But then with Mobley, the questions continue to persist. Yes. Can those guys play together? And basically Mobley, I got excited about...
But I think most of their problems have been when only one of them's on the floor.
Well, I got excited. I'm like, finally, we're gonna get to we're gonna get those lobs to get Evan Mobley back comfortable. He's gonna be on the receiving end. And where have those been? You haven't seen them. And Mobley has basically been camped out of the 3-point line.
216-474-0092. Daryl in Euclid. Daryl, you're first up on the Fan. Hello.
Good morning.
Morning, Daryl.
This is one of those throwaway games. I don't know if you guys have ever played like round robin tournament games. This was the Cavs' third game in 91 hours. Now, I've never played in the NBA, but I played in college. I played tournament games. When you get to that third game in 91 hours, your legs, look at the first period. When did they have most of their turnovers, or a great majority of their turnovers?
Right at the beginning of the game.
6 minutes.
Yeah.
The first 6 minutes. And then the rest of the game, they kind of settled down. I understand about the rebounding and all that kind of stuff. We know about that. Long rebounds. Oklahoma City was hitting their three-pointers. But when you add a quantity of three-pointers that Oklahoma City shot and the Cavs shot, and the quantity of misses, you got a lot of long rebounds. So it's up to the other guards and the other players to hit those, get those rebounds. And then also you got guys like Dean Wade that's afraid to shoot, and they're wide open. So, and then of course Mobley's shot, we know how flat his 3-point shot is. I mean, it's just, this is a throwaway game. A better gauge of how the Cavs are doing is against New York on Tuesday, and like you said, against Detroit on Friday.
That's a fair point.
They're going to have a little more rest. But it was the first 6 minutes, and I knew that was going to happen. I was concerned about their legs because of that. It's the third game in 91 hours.
Well, when it comes to the Eastern Conference in the third game, like I don't want to disagree with you. There's only two things that I have to counter with, Daryl. The first thing is that, okay, if they would have just got blown out the entire game, then fine, maybe I'd call it a throwaway game, and that would be a catalyst. They did end up taking the lead later on. Now, they did run out of gas, which gives you the 3 games in 91 hours thing. The second part of it is that we still see the same problems in the front court that we've seen in the past. Those are the two things that I have to counter with.
Well, and I counter with the fact that the energy that it took them to take that 1-point lead or whatever lead that they had, that's one of the other things. Because how many times have you ever seen a team get behind by a big amount, and then the other team come back, and then they don't have enough gas to finish that game? I mean, like at the end of the game, remember who was it? I forgot who it was shooting the free throws, and he missed the second free throw with like 20-something seconds left, and then Holmgren got the rebound on the missed free throw for Oklahoma City. He got it right over one of our players.
Yes.
I mean, the guys just didn't have any legs. They could have got that rebound. I mean, it's like I said, this is a throwaway game. I don't even count this game. And you and I both know if we would have won, it doesn't matter if we won by 5 or 25, everybody would have thrown this game away and said, well, you did it without a lot of their better players.
That's true.
So,
Daryl, that's true. No, I thank you very much for the call. I think that part's true. The only I can't make
like
it.
Greg Anthony.
If I say it, I sound like I'm making excuses for him. If I say it, I sound like I'm making excuses for him because again, they came back and they took the lead. I totally agree with hey, you see it all the time. A team's down by 20, they get it back within 4 or 1 possession. It's like, all right, timeout time. It's like, all right, you get up to it, but it's hard to get back over that hump. Once you get over that hump, it's expected you fight him the entire. You did fight him the entire way through.
The final 40 minutes of the game, you outscored him by 15. So I know it wasn't SGA. Funny thing was the way they were playing without SGA. They were getting more threes up. They end up outscoring you by 24 from the three-point line. You're outscored by 30 from the three-point line against Charlotte. So it's just 2 games, small sample. It's something to look at. Also, Jalen Tyson has kind of fallen off a cliff of late. They are going to need to rely on him. They need him big time come playoff time.
216-474-0092. I want to get back to this coming up at 7. However, it was a tremendous win for Team USA yesterday morning. They have my complete respect, but I just don't know if it's going to make a big difference for me personally. Let me explain in 5 minutes on The Fan.
It's Anthony Lima for
It's unbelievable. The USA Hockey Brotherhood is so strong, and we had so much support from ex-players. I'm so proud to be American today. Unbelievable game by Hellebuck. He was our best player tonight by a mile. Unbelievable game. Unreal game by our team. That's just a ballsy, gutsy win. That's American hockey right there. That's a great Canadian team, but we're USA. We're so proud to be Americans. Tonight was all for the country.
That's Jack Hughes yesterday on NBC. Audio courtesy of NBC. As Team USA won 2-1 in overtime over Team Canada. The first time that the U.S. men have won the gold medal since 1980. Lake Placid. I watched that whole game. Amazing game. All right. All credit, all respect due. It was unbelievable. I really did. I remember 2010. I remember watching the old radio station I worked at, and I remember 2010, when Sidney Crosby buried it and it was over. It's oh man, this really sucks. So I could understand kind of how they were taking it in a little bit in a way, even though that's their national sport. I really was shocked for a moment that, because games end abruptly like that. And I was shocked for a moment that it happened. And once it sank in, I go, boy, this is a hell of an accomplishment over here. This is a hell of a win by them.
It was an amazing, for me, first 60 minutes of hockey. And unfortunately, I was not able to see the overtime period in real time.
Tell everybody why.
There was the Lima household meltdown with the kids. We're having some weird sleep regression thing that's going on. And it's having us descend into madness. And I was all good.
The madness.
I was all good until my wife was there. We're having issues with both kids. And I looked at her and I said, well, I guess I'm going upstairs because I have no idea when this actual overtime is happening. Do they take a half hour in between overtime and the actual game?
They take at least so.
Oh, my God. I'm get to the hockey.
It's
a 20-minute
It's a 20-minute intermission between periods.
Correct. It was a killer. It was a total killer.
I think
It takes 12 minutes for them to Zamboni the ice and it to dry.
I'm we don't have better technology in 2020.
So you're looking at another 20 minutes.
It's water on ice and it needs to dry. I don't know that there's.
I don't know. I see the miracle. Do you believe in miracles? And it looks like they're playing on literal, they might sink into the actual.
Yes,
that was 1980.
I agree with you. That was 46 years ago.
That was 46 years ago. Technology's come a little bit of a ways there.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, they've decided that for the good of the game, they don't want it to be a chopped up parking lot that they're playing the biggest game of their sport on.
It was such a bummer because I knew when I came down the stairs it was going to be over. And I looked at my phone and I'm like, oh, my God.
Yeah, you missed it. Yeah, I missed a hell of a moment.
I did go to the kitchen to kind of pour more coffee and things, and I made it quick. I knew it was going to be one of those things that if you don't get back, it's going to, especially when it's 3-on-3 hockey, they do it so that there can be, you take a big shot, it takes the right bounce off the goalie, and the other team gets the puck, and they are going quick. It's all fast break transition stuff.
Which is awesome. I mean, and I went back and watched it, and I'm I cannot believe I missed this. And it wasn't one of those where you can record it, because my phone blew up. Everybody all of a sudden was the biggest hockey fan they've ever been.
Well, there's nothing that brings us together like patriotism in the Olympics. I mean, that's no matter what. I mean, that's always a fun thing to do. And dropping in on the Olympics every 4 years is kind of the fun thing about it. is that you become a big fan. We have hockey in Cleveland. It's the AHL team. There's obviously the NHL, because it seems like every 4 years, like, I'm going to watch more hockey. This is incredible. I'm going to watch more hockey. I go, man, I might just be reaching an age where I just can't find anything more on my product ladder as far as fandom is concerned. Like, if I were a 12-year-old and they had just won that hockey game the way they did, and me being a sports fan the way I am, maybe it would have a chance to seep through. I've had one buddy of mine growing up who wasn't a hockey fan, who's now a hardcore hockey fan now. Like and he moved to Florida and became a bigger hockey fan somehow. He moved to better weather and became a bigger hockey fan. Tampa Bay Lightning fan. I have a total amount of respect for it, obviously. And I do this every year. And it's weird because Lima thinks this is kind of nerdy. I listen to hockey on the radio. I will listen to it. Michigan Tech, I've listened to, which you guys think is weird. Minnesota, I listen to. Doug Plagens down there, I try to listen to because he used to be here. He's a really nice guy. I think hockey on the radio is great. I think the guys that do hockey on the radio and on TV are really, really good. And I'm just like, every time I say it, I just end up disappointing myself because I just don't think I'm going to, like, it's football, baseball, basketball, NASCAR. Golf has fallen by the wayside, and that's basically where I'm at. And not even NASCAR, I mean auto racing, like F1 and NHRA and things like that I enjoy. Other than that, soapbox derby. Yeah, soapbox derby, of course. But of course, I mean, Corbin Burnson, the whole thing. I just don't think there should be room for it, and the only way I think I could do it is if we got an NHL team here, and I just think with the proximity of the other NHL teams, they're just not going to allow something like that to happen, so it doesn't matter.
Obviously, part of what was special yesterday is that you didn't have to know any of the players, and I didn't. In fact, I knew the guy that wasn't playing more than anybody else, Sidney Crosby. And Connor McDavid, I knew, and that's it. I couldn't name any of the other guys out there, and that's the beauty.
There's the Kachucks.
Okay, I know that. I know the name. I know the name.
The T-Cax, as Mitch called them the one day.
I'm assuming they're the sons of the guy that we had grown up kind of paying attention to. So I have no idea who these guys are, and that's the beauty of why that was so big yesterday, and I'm sure it'll have a massive rating. And that's played huge on social media, is that you don't need to know any of the guys. But will that get me? Like the broadcasters kept reinforcing what the Miracle did, the Miracle on Ice, what that did to American hockey. This is going to have a lasting legacy. And I'm like, or will we just watch again in 4 years?
I told you before, what killed hockey I had a much larger interest in hockey when I was a kid. And what helped kill my interest was live Sports Center, where they stopped doing highlights. We've talked about that a million times. When you had if they just did highlights, maybe that'd be it. But when you have recorded Sports Center, and you're just sitting there in the morning before school, and you're watching 2 hours of the recorded Sports Center, and they're doing highlights, and that's all it is, and you know who all the hockey players are by the time, because you're going to be watching Sports Center in the middle of the winter. You knew who all the players were in the 90s. You knew who a lot of who those guys were. So I do believe there was a carryover there, but obviously the work stoppages, that helped it wane. The television contracts moving around, that helped it move out some of the casual fans, the people like me, the people like you, the people like us in this room, the casuals that move them on to the point where, like, the only thing I could see being different is us having an NHL team, and it's like because of the proximities of the other teams, it's not going to happen. So if it's not going to happen, it's like, okay, I respect hockey. And I know, like, over there, they put on a good show over at Rocket Arena. And all that stuff's great, but it's like, it's not going to be... Like, I'm not going to sit down and watch hockey the way I do the NBA, even when the Cavs aren't playing. I'm not going to do it like I do college football or certainly the NFL, yes.
I would also need Mike Tirico to do every intermission because it's a guy I know, and Kenny Albert to call every game.
Oh, how great.
Because it's a
how
voice
great was Kenny Albert?
It's a voice I connect to, and I know there's some good hockey play-by-play guys. I just don't. I connect to Kenny Albert. Like, I know what he sounds like. He's done all the other sports for me.
Oh, the call sounded awesome.
Yeah,
everything about the coverage of that game was awesome.
And you're not going to get that Tuesday night when you play San Jose.
But, San, here's the thing. So what has everybody had fun doing over the last 3 weeks? Make fun of the NBA, right? And kill the NBA because of the many justifiable. You don't even hear me making excuses on a lot of those things that people crush the NBA for. But then we'll get to the Stanley Cup, and it'll get a sixth of the rating that the NBA Finals get. A sixth. So I don't know if Outkick the Coverage is going to be spending every day making fun of hockey like they do the NBA, but the NBA is so much healthier. The thing that everybody makes fun of is exponentially healthier than the NHL. And I don't know, are we going to have nightly forums about it? Are we going to get together and go, what's wrong with the NHL? Crisis in the NHL. I just think the NHL is where it's at. And I don't know if maybe some of these names that I saw yesterday, although I'll probably forget most of them, but they need to capitalize on this now. And I don't know if the NHL will ever be able to do that, but that was awesome appointment viewing yesterday. And in sports, how much appointment viewing do you truly get like you got yesterday? It was awesome.
It's very difficult. 216-474-0092. More on this coming up in Lima Likes here at 6:45 or 7:45. Also, Justin Terminy, it's 8:20 this morning. Are the Cavs headed to the finals, or was yesterday a dose of reality? Mike Rener going to join us this morning at 9:22 from CBS Sports. Can you take anyone on defense in the first round? And controversy of brewing because Fernando Mendoza is not throwing at the combine. All that, and I'm not having the unicorn conversation anymore, but calling Mobley a bust, that's a bit too far. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima, take us with you to work on the free Odyssey app. Window Nation and Window.
of teams that take the approach of, we got everything built up, now we're ready to slot in the quarterback. And as of right now, it kind of feels like the Browns are taking that approach, which is always a bold strategy because there's no guarantee you're going to get the quarterback.
The Afternoon Drive, weekdays starting at 2. We are Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
Getting ripped again on social media. Social media reactions brought to you by
Shibe & Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store.
JT, Ken, you acted like they were going to walk into the NBA Finals. You also said you weren't excited for Sunday because they had guys out. Now you act surprised that fans are upset they lost. I was surprised that many were upset. I was surprised that many were. I didn't act like they were going to walk into the Finals. If I would have said they were going to walk into the Finals, I would have used a Sharpie to put them in the Finals. I used a pencil to put them in the Finals. But we're arguing semantics, which is still 95%.
Well, a Sharpie is very different, though.
A Sharpie is very different there. I am surprised at the vitriol, and I think that there were some people who were kind of I think that they were kind of being quiet after the James Harden trade, kind of like, we'll wait and see. There was a couple people here at the station that were not that quiet about it, not on this show, but they were questioning what was going on. But Oklahoma City is not an Eastern Conference team. That all said, they came out, they played like garbage at the beginning of the basketball game. They turned it over a ton, and I know that we had the call from Daryl and Euclid said, 3 games, 90 hours, there's a lot. And I go, yeah, but if I say it, it sounds like a giant fat excuse. And I'm not in the excuse making.
Yeah, we didn't lead with that.
I can't.
We just brought it up.
I've made excuses before. I can't make an excuse for that. A bad day is a bad day. They ended up coming back, and they took the lead in the game. Once you come back and take the lead, there's not really much I can say on your behalf. So they ended up losing the basketball game. What I was more bothered by was, well, one, we can't find a happy medium here from what I'm about to explain. The other thing is that you did still see the same old problem. Even though you've made a great trade, James Harden is better than Darius Garland. But you still see the same old problem. Your front court has problems dealing with physical play. Again, Chet Holmgren weighs as much as you. Chet Holmgren's over 7 feet tall. When Chet Holmgren has 15 rebounds over both of your bigs, that's going to stick out to everybody. That's a problem.
See what he did to Tomlin at the rim yesterday?
I know. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I know. That's not very good. And you have Naquan Tomlin, who's a former two-way player. You have Chet Holmgren, who's a former number 1 overall pick, if I'm not mistaken.
And looked it.
Yeah. Like there's going to be a little bit of a difference in play. So I'm not going to go. I know you're making a point there. I'm not going to go after that poor guy. But that was concerning. However, this is where I'm like, all right, we gotta kind of cool it here. I know that there were a lot of people, myself included. You want to call me words, you go ahead and you call me words. There were a lot of people, myself included, who were talking about Evan Mobley, the unicorn. And Evan Mobley changing the way that we play basketball here in Cleveland. And then yesterday I was reading about Evan Mobley, the bust. And I go, guys, we got it. He might not be Victor Wembanyama. He might not be. Somebody actually gave us a side-by-side of Chet Holmgren without Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to Evan Mobley without Donovan Mitchell, and the numbers were actually pretty good for Evan Mobley. But he might not be Holmgren, okay? Might not be Wembanyama. This is still the defending defensive player. I know Wembanyama was out, but this is still the defending defensive player of the year. Let's not call a guy. I know we're mad. Let's not use the B word when it comes to Evan Mobley here. That's a bit strong, don't we think?
For a guy that was All-NBA and Defensive Player of the Year last year.
That's a bit strong.
Look, we always get in these situations. This isn't unique to Cleveland, that you're always wanting more for somebody that flashes the amazing amount of talent.
That's true.
That Evan clearly has. Now, I said earlier in the year, like I've kind of changed how I feel about him in the interim. Now, I haven't drastically changed the long-term stuff with Evan because he's so young and so gifted in many ways. But I've just said, stop talking about his ceiling right now in the short term. Let's talk about his floor. His floor is incredible. His floor, and he's coming back from the calf injury, so I'm gonna cut him a little bit of slack. Hopefully I'm not talking like this come playoff time.
Well, he's on a minutes restriction too.
Yeah, they're still trying to make sure he is really healthy and out of the woods of something bigger when it comes to an injury. And we all know where calf injuries in the NBA kind of lead to. And he's had 2 of them this year. So, you get nervous about that. So I want to cut him some slack. But all I'm saying is, like, his floor, every time he's out there, you're going to feel his presence. And yesterday notwithstanding, like, he is going to be a rim protector. He's going to be able to switch out and guard wings and even some guards in this league. That's how versatile he is defensively. And then hopefully catch lobs and clean up a lot of the scraps around the rim. I don't think you need to run a lot of plays for him now anymore this year. I think that's part of why you brought Harden in, is because you're kind of saying uncle on the offensive development for Mobley right now in the short term. And it's like, hey, we need someone who's going to be able to come out here in fourth quarters and get the tough baskets, get to the free throw line. Because it can't just be Donovan Mitchell on his own. And Darius, you just could not rely on. You just couldn't. So you went out and got Harden because he has had big playoff moments. I know, again, we've got a producer here from Philly who's rolling his eyes every time we say that.
He'll have his chance to talk to us at 7:22. I'll put him on the spot.
But at this point, like, I have kind of waved the flag on Evan Mobley being that unicorn offensive player that we all hoped he would. I've kind of waved the white flag, right now in 2026 of him being able to do that.
Well, I think you wouldn't have had to if he were a bigger offensive threat, would you have still had to made the trade for James Harden? If Evan was still a bigger offensive threat? I don't know that they would have gone that direction. Put it that way. I think if you could have reasonably put the ball in Mobley's hands in fourth quarters and said, watch him create, I don't think Harden is the move. I still think you might have traded Darius, but I don't know if the move would have been for Harden. 216-474-0092. So, I mean, you still seem like you have a lot of patience for Evan Mobley here.
Well, I do.
Where I think a lot of people have. And hey, like I got off the unicorn conversation. Now, I think that because of the two calf injuries, which are serious because you're always worried about a calf, the two calf injuries have given me a little bit more patience with him, I got to tell you. Now, I know I've babied him a bit and I've argued about him a lot. All right? Because he, when you talk about unicorns, there's an expectation there that he's supposed to be one of the next greats. And right now, he's a very good player, but he's not one of the greats of the generation right now. And because of that, I think some people have been led astray by guys like me. Fine, I could take that heat. But now it's like, what do I expect out of him, and have I lost patience? Because what my issue is that because I've argued for Evan, even with you sometimes, when I've argued for Evan, I don't want to turn around and make him out to be the great, big, nasty scapegoat of what this team could be if they don't get to where I think that they can go, which I think they're still an NBA Finals team. If they fail to do that, if Evan's the problem, I'll say Evan's the problem. But I think that some of us here have argued so strong for Evan that now he's the subject of our anger. And he's the subject of me I don't want to do that way. I still think he's a fabulous player, but it's got to be better than yesterday. I know, again, you're on a minutes restriction, but I mean, you pointed out so succinctly of Evan Mobley's 2 rebounds he had, which one was your favorite? Which is a hilarious ass joke.
Sam Merrill
but
came
also
in.
True.
Sam Merrill came in and got some big rebounds.
Yes.
So this has to be better for Evan, and I think it's got to be a little hard for Kenny Atkinson figuring out the rotations. I was just talking to somebody online about the Jalen Tyson minutes and his game. If you notice, Tyson has kind of gone away. His effectiveness has been limited since they got Harden.
Yeah.
And that shouldn't be the case. Like, I think they've got to figure out rotations. This doesn't happen in 5 games, which is all they played, with an all-star break in between, and then a 3 games in 4 days kind of bender, where you're playing in the afternoon on the road in one of the toughest places to play. Like, I think you've got to consider all of that. That's why, hey, it's going to suck. This week is going to suck if they lose to the Knicks and the Pistons. Everyone's going to be out on the Cavs, if that's the case.
Oh, I'm not.
But this is a really, really interesting period of time for Kenny to try to figure out rotations, and he's not going to have them figured out. They're like, by the end of this week, we're not going to go, boom, got it. Like, you have drastically, materially changed, your rotations, adding Schroeder and Ellis into the fray, and then, oh, by the way, James Harden, who's used to having the ball in his hands, 90% of the time. Mm-hmm. And I think so far he's been very deferential. Like, I don't think he has monopolized. In fact, yesterday, I almost... Did you find yourself thinking, I kind of need James, I kind of need you to keep the ball a little longer?
I did not. I really didn't. I thought that he's handled it very, very well since he's got here. But obviously it's only been a short sample size. I mean, we're only talking less than a handful of basketball games since he's got here. So I did not find myself that way with him yesterday, I got to tell you.
There's been no real two-man game with Evan. You've seen that two-man game with Jared Allen, and yesterday, because they were both on the floor at the same time, they're going to have to figure out how they're going to stagger those minutes because you kind of lost both the big men yesterday. Did you not?
Yeah.
Like having them play together turned into you losing both of them.
That's the whole thing when it comes to the patience running out with Evan Mobley. I'm like, well, I've expected more out of Evan Mobley, but what about Jared Allen here? I mean, the guy had a week where he was almost untouchable with how good he was, and then when you run into a guy like Hardenstein, who's given him problems before, then all of a sudden you're back to the old problems of a little bit too meek, a little bit too passive inside, and you can't be that way. I mean, that's without Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, that was going to be the way they beat you. They took advantage of your turnovers. Obviously, they shot the bleep out of it to start the basketball game and really throughout the entire game, to be honest with you. But when you have the situation where you're getting beat inside, you're not going to get yourself enough second chance points. You're not going to be able to win a lot of basketball games that way, at least against the really top quality opponents that you're playing. Because what this is going to do, because of your second half schedule, I'll say this. Because of your second half schedule, the Knicks game tomorrow night becomes that much bigger. The Detroit game Friday night at Detroit becomes that much bigger because you're going to be dealing with some slop. And so we don't have a whole lot of measuring stick games between now and when they count for the playoffs. 216-474-0092. Lima likes at 7:45. Maybe the most underrated signing in Cleveland this year is coming up. And there is someone here who cannot believe that we're still in a honeymoon period with James Harden. Find out who in 5 on The Fan.
It's Anthony Lima for Fin.
a Winter Olympics record 18 golds. Can now find 92.3 The Fan on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to the best content from our shows each and every weekday. That's 92.3 The Fan on YouTube. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
O'clock, I want to admit something, but I don't know if it's going to make me unpatriotic. I'm getting a wry smile in the other room. However, there's some people wondering if the honeymoon's over now with James Harden. With this version of the Cavs, since they've lost a game with James Harden now. One of the people couldn't believe that we're having a honeymoon to begin with was our very own new John here, Tone.
I've been disgusted with our new producer, John, in many ways, but especially coming in with this trade that got our whole city energized.
Yeah.
He came in and just wanted to do the wet blanket and go, it's James Harden. Have you not seen him in big games? And that's it. That's the end.
He's
that's
from
it.
Philly.
I guess we should fold the franchise and not we should decline our playoff bid this year.
He is from Philly, and this is weird. Like, he's sitting over there, and I'm going to bring him in here in a second. But how many times, now he's been with us a week now, how many times in the last week, Owen, you, Lima, has he brought up strip clubs with James Harden in the city of Cleveland? At least over half a dozen, has to be 8 or 9. The better part of 10 has brought it up with us. Like, he wants to talk about it.
Harden's dozen.
Yes, he wants us to talk about it. And we're like, well, it's a fresh slate with us. So until I find out him being out there at strip clubs and being out there gallivanting around if the Cavs lose basketball games, then fine, the gloves come off. But it's a clean slate with me. So do I want to sit here and make a bunch of gentlemen's club references when it comes to James Harden? No, not yet. No. I mean, there's a couple jokes here and there, Lido Lounge, things like that. But no, I don't want to do that. And John is upset that we are like pro James Harden here. Like Landry was texting us, our other former producer, Landry, down in Houston. It's like, oh, wait until you guys see when he shows his ass. I'm like, well, you know what? He hasn't yet. It's very early, so I'm going to enjoy this process. And John can't believe it right now.
You're going to tell me that that's not also telling to you? That another guy is like, oh, James Harden, he's not going to do you.
But it's not when we discuss this and we're brutally honest with it the entire time. It doesn't end well in any place that he's been in. The best place it might have ended maybe was Oklahoma City, and that's about it. Like, I know it isn't going to end well. I don't expect it to end well, but I'm not denied the truth of James Harden before he got here. It's never once that he's going to be different here than he is anywhere else. I'm going to enjoy him as long as I have him, as long as this is a good basketball team. That's the difference, John. Like, your guys' warnings all over the country about how bad a guy James Harden is just isn't going to compute with me. I don't think it is with Tone either.
I'm not going to speak on James Harden's character, but I am going to speak on the fact that the last couple teams he's left them in just trade rumors and shambles.
Well, then you're talking about his character. If he's creating problems and things like that for the basketball team, then obviously
LeBron James has done that. Like that.
And people rip on his character because
has won. Yeah, LeBron has won everywhere he's gone.
But that's the NBA. Like the stars are all going to be rumored, especially with their contracts. They're all rumored all the time.
Most.
In trade. Look at the Kawhi Leonard stuff right now.
Most.
So how many times has Kawhi put his teams through all of that? That's the league.
Maybe I wasn't paying that close of attention to Utah at the time, but
Jimmy Butler.
I don't think Donovan put that many problems out there for the basketball team.
I'm basically listing all the most famous and most popular guys in the NBA.
Won. That's the difference, though.
Sure. So, Kawhi Leonard. He obviously
won in Toronto.
He won in Toronto. Like, are you giving him a ton of credit for the San Antonio years?
Yeah.
I mean, those obviously was on pretty good teams. You know,
Manu really Jones.
He won Finals MVP for San Antonio.
Yeah, was he playing with Tim Duncan, one of the top 12 players of all time? That kind of helps. So yeah, I think if James Harden was on the right teams all these years, I'm pretty sure he'd have titles. Like, do you think James Harden would not have won titles with Golden State?
Golden State had three of the best shooters ever and one of the best defensive players.
But he's not asking you that. Yeah. He's asking, do you think that he would have stopped them from winning titles?
No.
So if he's just on a good basketball team,
he's like being branded this huge loser. He's got, by the way, second most active playoff wins in the NBA. For a loser.
Boom.
That's pretty good. Like that's
for a giant
I think
loser.
there's a lot of guys that would pray that they had the resume of James Harden.
So you guys have never really James Harden has never been a Cavs before this year. So you've never seen James Harden choke in the playoffs
I have.
before.
Yeah. I've ripped him for it.
Wait a minute. How have we not seen James
You're not watching as closely as you would have if you had been a Rockets fan, if you had been a Sixers fan.
I watched and made fun of James Harden in those years, but I'm asking you, did you see Darius Garland in the playoffs? He hasn't had anywhere near the
that's
playoff.
the thing that's been lost in all of this.
Year?
Did we see what Darius Garland was doing?
What year when he was with the Rockets? When did they choke?
It was like 2016.
And how good were the Cavs at that time?
The Cavs were very good.
So you don't think I was paying attention to who they were playing in the Western Conference Finals, John?
No, I don't think you.
Okay, I wasn't watching any of those games.
Close,
Neither were you. We were not watching those games. No, nobody was watching. Nobody was seeing whether or not Golden State was going to actually come out of the West against the Cleveland Cavaliers, and we might be able to skate to a championship.
And certainly, Ken and I weren't doing any national radio.
No, we weren't on CBS Sports Radio at that time either. Neither of us.
I don't think that people who aren't fans of that team are paying as close of attention. I don't think that
during regular season
is not jaded enough towards James Harden.
I actually think John, I think it's the opposite. I think everybody parachutes in come that time of the year, and that's why so many people think James Harden sucks. Yes. And I'm like, James Harden is a Hall of Famer. He is going to go, I'd say, in the modern day, like he is kind of the heliocentric NBA. Like he is responsible for a lot of what you see, every level of basketball, guys jab stepping, shooting threes, being able to get to the foul line. Like 98% of the NBA would die to have James Harden's career, would they not? There's a reason he's made almost $500 million playing basketball. He's been one of the most marketed stars in sports. There's so many NFL guys would love to have
never
James
won a
Harden.
championship.
Sure, and join the club. Did Charles Barkley's never won a championship? Is he some disgraceful losing basketball player?
Yeah, but you're going to call guys like Karl Malone and John Stockton. Are they disgraceful? They ran into Jordans. You can't make excuses for everybody.
So they hand out one championship every year.
Yeah.
Who did the one of the epic choke jobs that you listed? Who did they lose to?
They lost to the Golden State Warriors.
Oh, the dynastic Golden State Warriors. I guess that's humiliating to lose to that team. You know what? LeBron also
27 straight threes.
And LeBron also lost 3 times to that team. Is he some loser?
Is he a loser now?
LeBron the loser. That's what they call him, don't they? Oh no, they call him the best basketball player that's ever lived.
Actually, we do have a few callers.
4 other championships. When James Harden wins 4 championships, you'll let me know.
So who are the guys? Give me all the guys that are winning these championships that we could have traded for. Give me the names of all the winning
You could have traded for Nikola Jokic
at championship level.
I was about to say.
I didn't let him finish. No,
Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, we should trade for him, right?
No. Yeah, you could
can't.
if you wanted to, but no.
So who are the guys? Give me Kawhi Leonard. You actually might be able to trade for Kawhi Leonard if you want him. Kawhi Leonard's probably been the best NBA player over the last 2 months. Should we trade for him right now?
No.
Well, you can't trade for anybody right now.
It is a smart move, but is it going to win you a championship? I don't think
so.
It's
Now
going
you
to.
called it a smart move, but yet every day you come in and say the antithesis of that. Like, this is the dumbest move you guys have ever made. Now you just came on the air and said it's a smart move.
You just said it was a smart move. It took you 3 minutes to say it was a smart move.
It's a smart move. It's an objectively good move for your basketball team, but it's not going to win you a championship. He's never done it. He's never proved it.
So
Darius Garland was going to win us a championship?
No.
So give me the list of players.
Done?
So what's the point of having
your
a team?
team is better. Your team. Exactly.
So the team is better. So where's the downside of this? I need to know the downside.
Learn in sports talk radio, John. Something you're gonna have to learn in sports talk radio is that you can't come on the air in any city that you're in and go, "There's no point of having this season for this sports team in this city." Why even have it? Because they're not going to win it anyway, so why even play the season?
He anointed the champs of the East after 4 games.
Who did? Me?
You did.
Hell yeah, I did. And I still stand by it.
I want to see what they do this week. They have a tough schedule coming up. I would love to see what the Cavs do this week. If they beat the Pistons twice.
Let me ask you, who are all the guys in the Eastern Conference that you have christened winners and champions? Who are all these guys? So Boston has won a championship. It's Tatum and Brown. Brown actually won the Finals MVP in that series, and they've been amazing this year. They are a threat. Vegas just put them ahead of the Cavs, but they're all jumbled in there. Are the Knicks? Are you betting on Karl Anthony Towns?
I bet on Jalen Brunson.
Okay,
I think Jalen Brunson is your guy.
How many championships does he have?
None, but I think he could. I think that the Knicks.
But you don't think Donovan Mitchell can?
I think Donovan Mitchell can, and that's why James Harden could be different.
Okay, but just because he won a championship, like if Derek White was available, am I supposed to trade for Derek White over James Harden? Because I'm not going to do that.
No, you shouldn't do that.
Okay, but he was on a winning basketball team that won a championship,
like
so I
Derek
would say
White
he's a champ. Derek White's a very good player, but he's not James Harden, Anthony.
No.
Okay, so now I got two of you disagreeing with me over here. God. Anyway, you made the very best possible trade you could at the time you could make it. So I don't understand the issue other than you come from Philly, you don't like him, so you're going to make strip club jokes.
That was before this segment was the first time I brought that up.
Strip clubs?
Yes.
You've brought up strip clubs at least 8 times with James.
That's not true.
Owen.
It feels like everybody's been bringing up the strip club stuff, though.
Owen.
I mean, was it true or was it AI generated? One of our fine establishments, did they not put up signage welcoming James Harden? Or was it fake?
I just assume anything's AI anymore.
By Kevin Grandishier or whatever. That's a good one. I do like to see people fall for that.
Let me go to the phones here. Tonio in Cleveland. You're first up on the Fan. Hello, Tonio.
How you doing? I just want to say a little something about those James Harden playoff stats for 2016 against the Warriors.
Yeah.
26.6 points per game, 7.6 assists, 5.2 rebounds. So I don't say he's a loser. He had his best efforts against them. It's just his team can beat the best team in the league.
Well, wasn't that the one where Chris Paul got hurt? Tonio, thank you for the call. Wasn't that the one where Chris Paul got banged up for the Game 7? He couldn't play in the Game 7?
Yes.
I might be mistaken. It was a long time ago. I mean, we're talking a decade ago. But, I'm in Cleveland, so I wasn't watching those games. According to
the funny thing about
John.
Harden, now obviously Harden has the epic choke jobs. I'm calling it what it is. Like he has had big failures and big moments. He's also had so many massive playoff games, and I think that is the one thing. It's one of the reasons why I think the Cavs went after him. They could not depend on Darius Garland. He's had very few good playoff games. He's just good. I'm not even asking for great. James Harden's had a bunch of great, huge playoff games. By the way, last year, Game 6 of that series against Denver, the reason it even went to Game 7, where he had a chance to throw up an epic choke job, is because he had a huge game to get him there and scored 30 and was dominating that game, at a lot of different points. So I think you got to understand, like, this league is really, really tough. There's very few guys, unless you want to just go get Giannis, and obviously teams did, and I think the Cavs were attempting to get Giannis, but the other team's got to want to deal him, and maybe in the offseason we're going to get back to the Giannis conversations. Boy, did my phone blow up yesterday, like, would the Bucks even take Mobley now in Giannis discussions?
Oh, come on.
That's what I was getting yesterday. So, obviously, we're very reactional. The Cavs lost their first time in, they've lost one time in a month, it feels like. And everybody wants to throw them overboard.
Including John.
I never bought it to begin with.
The Cavs are playing well, but until James Harden
have your approval.
gets to another conference finals, we'll see what happens. He's first and second round exits.
Chaz wants to know if your dad is Nick Wilson the way you're talking with this negativity.
I am not. Put the safety on, please.
No, it's your job, Ken.
Put the safety on. All right. John, do I thank John
Give
for
me
that?
a list of the players. I want to know who are the winners in this league. That's your homework assignment.
Yeah, find the winners.
Give me all the winners.
Okay. Challenge accepted.
Richard Jefferson, winner.
Just go get him.
Won a championship. Just go get him. Pull him off the broadcast team. Make him play for you.
What's Channing Frye doing?
He's very good.
Podcast.
I think Richard Jefferson. Am I wrong to say that? Richard Jefferson's very good. Yeah. He's cat's ass.
He was there yesterday.
I do think, though, where a lot of folks, though, the loss yesterday was kind of the end of the honeymoon, and it's terrible because it's not on James Harden. The loss was not on James Harden. I think the loss was more on the front court. I think the loss was more on turnovers at the beginning of the basketball game. That's what the loss was more about. But I do think that there were some people kind of waiting for that other shoe to drop. My issue of it is that it's not an Eastern Conference team. You're penciling them into the finals, and I did that on Friday. You brought it out of me. I wasn't expecting to say that in the opening segment on Friday, but a lot of people are trying to hold me accountable for it. I go, one, they didn't lose to an Eastern Conference team. Now, they could go out there and they could lose tomorrow night to the Knicks, and I'm going to have hell to pay over it on Wednesday morning. I guarantee you that. They could go out there and they could lose to Detroit, and I'll have hell to pay on it on Monday morning. That's a possibility when they play Detroit on Friday. Like, yes, those are going to be big issues there, and I have to answer for them. But I'm still not going to jump off of it right there. Sometimes reality sets in. That's the natural point of a honeymoon, is that reality is going to set in. We're like, okay, now we have to go back to work. Now we got to pay rent. Now we got to do this. Now we got to do that. Like, we have to actually live with each other now. And I think that's naturally is what's happening with the Cavs. But I don't think it's a bad thing that they went out there and they started getting boat race in the game yesterday and they ended up losing. Yeah, I know they ended up losing that basketball game, but they made a basketball game of it, and they came back and they took the lead in that game. They could have just rolled over and died like they have in a bunch of other ones, because you remember Ryan Ruocco, and the reason to bring up the broadcast team is how many games did they say the Cavs have the most comebacks from double digits?
14, I believe.
Yes,
it's crazy.
And Ryan Ruocco's like, why do they have so many double-digit games? I'm like, any Cavs fan can tell you exactly why they've been having a bunch of double-digit deficits.
Well, they had a lot of mail-it-in efforts earlier in the year that I think were so concerning. And then you throw in the injuries, too. They were so concerning that the team felt like they had to make a move. And I agreed because, guys, this was not going to happen. As constituted, they were dead on arrival in the playoffs. They might have won a series, but I wouldn't have picked them to win the next series.
If you're listening to us on the free Odyssey app in New York City, just keep on listening and tune us on YouTube, because obviously you ain't got nowhere to go. Travel ban in effect till noon in New York City. That's how bad the weather is over there. Justin Terminy going to join us at 8:20 this morning. So watch us on YouTube Live for absolutely free. In 5 minutes, it might be the most underrated signing in Cleveland this year. Who is it? Lima's going to tell you in Lima Likes next on The Fan.
XTENDAV.com.
Lima like?
Or does Lima no like?
Like?
Tell me likey. I'm liking it.
I like it a lot.
No like.
He doesn't like you.
I don't like you either.
You're tacky and I hate you.
Like or no like. No like or no like.
But I definitely knew what I liked, and I definitely knew what I didn't like.
All right, one good thing I will take out of yesterday.
Lima likes.
Ladies and gentlemen, Sam Merrill is for real. Is he not? Like, not that I was questioning, like, whether or not he's somebody that, could make a big
real
impact.
basketball player.
They re-signed the better player.
But he had Sam Merrill over
Ty Jerome.
Ty was really good to start out here. He's obviously not been healthy all year in Memphis, and I feel bad that he's kind of wasting away there.
Sam missed some games.
Yeah, well, Sam Merrill, yesterday again, he was looking at that wrist, and I think that's just going to be something he's going to be dealing with all year. But 6 of 10 for three-point line, the only reason they were in that game at all yesterday is because that guy was on a warpath. He ends up with 20 points, and you feel like he played 29 minutes. Like, man, I wanted more of him. And obviously, he started the second half. Dean Wade went to the bench. Dean Wade gave you a bunch of zeros yesterday. I kind of feel bad. Everybody's crushing Dean Wade. And, this is tough also because he just got back from an injury. The rotations are going to be in flux because you've added 3 guys that you want to get out there. And you've seen really good things out of Keon Ellis. Dennis Schroeder, you've seen some good things. He's not afraid to mix it up. But then Harden. And then, oh, by the way, Strus is trying to come back. Like, good luck, Kenny Atkinson, figuring out the rotations here. Because, like I said earlier in the show, Jalen Tyson has kind of gone backwards since Harden's gotten here. And they need Jalen Tyson. They don't have wings. They need Jalen Tyson to be formidable.
But you only have a little bit of time to figure it out. But you have some opponents that you can figure it out against. I'm not wildly concerned. I mean, Jalen Tyson's a fine player. Is he expected to take flight this quickly? No. So there's definitely a feeling up period that has to happen with Jalen Tyson now that James Harden's a part of this.
Likes.
Folks, who needs the free agency frenzy that teams like the Yankees or the Dodgers get to take part in every single year when we have, hey, I just saw a new nameplate in one of the lockers, which is what happened yesterday. That's how we announce our big free agency signings. Folks, did they get their right-handed bat? Somebody by the name of Rhys Hoskins is a Guardian, apparently, and he only played 90 games last year, got off to an amazing start, and then injuries kind of did him in. 32 years old, and somebody out there, Whit Merrifield, former MLB player, said Guardians might have got a steal here on the MLB Network.
I don't understand why people aren't more inclined to go after Rhys. He's a leader in the clubhouse. I spent some time in Philly, and people all over that clubhouse, whether it was players, staff, whoever it was, rave about Rhys as a teammate and as a person. So I'm really confused as to why more teams aren't interested in Rhys.
Now, John's not thrilled about James Harden. He is excited about Rhys Hoskins.
A winner.
Yeah, a winner in Philadelphia. Yes. A winner. So we will take what we can get there.
He's been to the exact same amount of championship series as James Harden.
Here we go.
5 years younger, too, than Harden.
Yeah.
So last year,
fair point.
With the injuries and everything, the Brewers declined the $18 million option on Hoskins. So this is somebody who has been formidable. This came out of nowhere. I'd say it came out of left field, but that's a baseball term.
It came off of first base.
Yeah, first base. What are they going to do at first base now?
I don't know.
Would
you be surprised?
You have to tell John about Abbott and Costello.
Base. Would you be surprised if he ended up playing first base?
Well, just Manzardo and Kafis.
I understand. We saw Manzardo's defense on first base. While it got a little better the more he played, it's pretty rough to watch. And then you got Kafis too.
I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up just playing first base for us.
In 2021, 27 homers. In 2022, 30 home runs. 2024, 26 home runs.
This could be a weird year because, so many times they start the season and whoever is on your opening day roster, your opening day lineup is almost completely
insignificant.
8 out of 9 guys are different by the end of the year.
Yes.
It's some years.
July for the Guardians.
If we're gonna play the pups the way we're planning on playing the pups, like all right, let's see what Stephen Kwan can do in center. George Valera, you mentioned C.J. Kafis, Kyle Manzardo. Obviously, Manzardo's a part of it. Chase DeLauder, Travis Bazzana. Like you might see what you're seeing throughout the entire year, maybe to start off the year. That is probably very presumptuous. But if they're not going to play very many vets, then you're going to want to play some of the young guys.
Say based on history, it's presumptuous.
Based on history, though, it's pretty presumptuous.
You're right. Who knows? They've still got a month before. There's guys that aren't on a roster right now that might end up being an opening day lineup for the Guardians.
That's pretty accurate.
Lima likes.
A lot of buzz continues. A lot of speculation. A lot of fodder when it comes to LeBron James, who is a winner last time I checked. I might have to check with our new producer, John, on that. LeBron taking the league minimum. Could it happen? Where is all this buzz coming from? Here is Dan Lebatard talking about it over the weekend.
David, LeBron might go into a farewell tour next year. There was a sports radio host in Cleveland who said that he did some reporting and learned that LeBron could get anywhere between 40 and 75 million in the streaming rights for his farewell tour, thus being able to take a minimum contract.
So that was on the Dan Lebatard show, not exactly the Dan Lebatard clip that I had sent over. Either way, this thing gained traction. It was on Shannon Sharp's big podcast. This had a lot of buzz. Jeff Teague and his podcast, which is actually a pretty big one in the NBA world. Gilbert Arenas was talking about this. Is this something that is catching wildfire that is not going to happen, or do you think there's a shot here?
Well, if it's out there now, it's going to be something that's talked about. People love talking about these type of deals, especially because it's league minimum. It's a guy bucking a trend of what is supposed to be, where he's supposed to take the absolute max because he's the absolute max kind of player. If he were to take the league minimum, I think people love talking about this stuff, and they love to speculate about, okay, what could his rights of a documentary in his last NBA season, how much could that actually fetch? I mean, the amount of money that you're talking about is staggering. That would cover anything that he would lose as taking a contract that would be the league minimum. But you could get more. You could say, well, you can have both. If you do both, is it as big a documentary if you go to the Sacramento Kings? I'm just using a team as an example. Or the New Orleans Pelicans. No, it's not. So you get more guaranteed from your salary, but you don't make as much on your legacy. And you don't have as big a legacy then, because you can't really sell that the same way. If you were to go back to Cleveland, obviously that's something that's fish in a barrel. That's how I feel. Part of your history, you're going to finish off your career there. That's must-see television.
Lima likes.
All right, they're a little prickly down in Oxford. You do not call them Miami of Ohio. But, folks, 27-0, a sellout crowd.
What am I supposed to call them?
Miami University or Miami. You do not say Miami of Ohio. It's actually in their I only know because I've done their games, right. And they are do not say it.
I ain't doing your games, and I only been to your school once, and I ain't getting in your school, so you're Miami of Ohio to me.
Either way, they win again. Myles Garrett, the celebrities are now coming out to watch this team. They've got 4 games left in the season. Some people are saying the Mid-American Conference needs to ditch their tournament if it's going to cost Miami a chance at an NCAA bid.
Now, where are you going to get drunk then? That's a question.
I know. One of our favorite pastimes.
They need to think of these things before we just say them.
Are they still in the 11 seed right now? The last bracketology I saw. But they are moving up the ranks. They're getting more and more buzz. And people are saying now, the NCAA, there's no way the committee will leave them out. Even if they lose in the MAC tournament.
You can't. It's a bad look for the tournament. It's a terrible look for the committee. In all joking aside, there needs to be then 2 MAC teams if they were to lose. Sorry, it's the way it goes. You can leave out the 10th SEC team. I'm sure that there will be no problem with that. You can put 2 MAC teams in if something were to happen. But more than likely, they'll end up going wire to wire, winning the MAC tournament, and that'll be the end of it.
All right, that's it for Lima Likes.
Outstanding as always. Justin Terminy coming up at 8:20 this morning. Does it make me un-American to admit I feel a little bad for who Team USA beat yesterday? And unless I was a Jersey guy, I don't think I'm buying this one. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima, take us with you to work on the free Odyssey app. K&K Heating and Cooling.
18 goals. Listen to The Fan Rewind, weeknights 11 to midnight. All the best segments from all our shows. You can always listen on the Odyssey app. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
Catch Afternoon Drive with Nick Wilson and Jonathan Peterlin live on YouTube each and every weekday from 2 to 7 p.m.
Minutes away, Justin Terminy going to join us on the show. Also, a major controversy brewing between Browns fans starting around this combine. Dead serious, apparently. That coming up at 8:45 this morning. All right, let me just admit this. I felt a little bit bad for Canada yesterday. Does that make me un-American? Stop it! Look at you making that. Look at you making that fake face. They can see you on YouTube Live now when you're faking. Just letting you know that. You didn't. Don't kill me for it. I like Canada.
I thought we hated Canada.
No, I don't hate Canada. If you hate Canada, that's fine. You can
watch
hate Canada.
Cable news.
Why don't you move to Canada?
I hate
Would you
Canada.
Stop with the cable news stuff.
I like
Canada.
I don't even want their maple syrup. I'll go Jug County if I want my maple syrup.
Well, you guys, the Limas were maple syruping over the weekend.
That's right.
Saw what was going on.
Yeah, they were.
We got a regular Martin Picard over here. However the hell you say his first name, I'm not sure. I'm not French Canadian. But I listen, I like Canada and I like Canadians. I have to admit, it's their national sport. So I have to admit, I felt a little bad. Felt a little bad. Like I was excited that they won, but it's hard to explain it. Like the sports I'm really big into, like the USA, and Canada's getting better basketball players, but I just expect Team USA to win in basketball, right? You just expect it. And then when it doesn't, people lose their mind. Like, 2008 was it when they didn't win it? And they had like silver or bronze medal, and people went completely crazy. Baseball has the World Baseball Classic, which has meaning to the people playing in it. It's something to watch. It's good baseball. I've come around to it here over the last couple of times. Football is not played in the Olympics, so it's like whatever. Like the sports I care about, hockey is a sport I respect. It's not my biggest thing. And I go, man, if we lost the national game, if I cared that much about hockey, I feel that I would feel bad if it's their national game. We beat them at their national game, and here we are in a major American city. I'm glad we won. Great for Team USA. Awesome. And then the conversation immediately switches to, I'm not sure if you open up your email here about with the Barrett Sports Media. Hockey has another chance to capitalize on international interest, but will they be able to do it? Like the conversation immediately becomes, will American people get back into hockey the way they were after 1980 up into a certain point? Like that doesn't happen in Canada. They love hockey. Oh, yeah. It's their national thing. And so, yeah, I felt we beat them at their obsession. This isn't a backhanded sort of thing. I swear to God, it felt a little bit. Again, I like Canada, man. I like Canadians. It'd have been easier to beat Russia. That's what I'm saying. All right, it'd have been easier to beat another country.
I mean, I thought I knew a guy.
For me,
I thought I knew a patriot.
Iceland after D2.
Iceland beating Iceland after D. Exactly.
I thought I hosted this show with a tried and true patriot. Yeah. This is
Wolf the Dennis Stanton.
Shocking. Shocking to hear.
You don't believe what you're saying. Stop saying it.
How about the people? I did see this coming up. Our buddy in New York, Marash.
Sean Marash.
Yeah, going after people. And this happens every year when there are people on the other country.
Well, Sean's a crazy person, so I'm not sure what you can take out of it, but go ahead.
When
continue.
there are players that go that play for the team that you're going up against for a big medal that are actually on your hockey team. How does that work in the calculus of hating another team when it's like, I root for that guy, right, all season long, and now I have to act like I hate him? How does that work? Let's say if you're
I didn't even think about that.
If you're an Oklahoma City fan and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is playing for Canada in the Olympics, can you really hate Canada?
It's also it's not in season when they play too.
True.
These guys are going to be back playing for the Rangers
like today.
Yes.
Well, yeah. Well,
they got to get on the plane and get over here because they got games this week.
So go with me on this, okay? Like Sidney Crosby, he's like one of the most beloved players in Pittsburgh history. But he did NU in 2010, and I mean, maybe there's a little bit of a weird feeling on that end, but that kind of goes in what I'm saying. Like, I like Canada. I like Trailer Park Boys and Corner Gas and their television and all that other stuff. And Peter Jennings and Alex Trebek were cool. I just felt a little bit like I saw the exuberance. I felt good for the American players. In the moment, I felt great. And then they were showing like some of the hockey fans like sitting there with their arms crossed, and like in Canada, I'm like, man,
it's got to be brutal to lose that game.
That sucks.
That is real. It has to be like you looked at the players on the Canadian team when they realized what had happened, when they looked and saw, holy cow. Because you don't know. You don't just see that. There's a lot of guys that did not see or have a clear view, including a lot of the fans there. Did not have a clear view of that thing going in. This is very different from basketball where everybody sees the ball
you have
go
to wait for the lamp to go off.
Yeah.
If you're in the
You do. You got to light the lamp.
Yeah,
it's a big part of it.
I saw John Tortorella afterwards during the medal ceremony. I wanted to know plus or minus 1,000 F-bombs that he dropped during the Olympics. It has to be more than 1,000, right? Over, under 1,000. But
you got to sit there. You got to sit in this for 4 years.
The fun on the bench.
Cow.
Exactly. The celebration on the bench, guys leaping off. I thought that was all fun. I just felt a little bit bet. Here they come. I knew it was going to happen. Yep. Here we go. Tom in Akron. Hello.
I'm kind of surprised at your reaction about the USA. Like, you know what? We beat Canada. I would expect you to be like, okay, now let's drop another tariff on them.
No.
Like, would you be like more accepting of the gold medal if we were like playing Iran? Or
No. All right, I'm done with that. I mean,
we'd have been waving the flags in here today.
Okay. I'm not trying to go Gibbs Shanley over it for crying out loud here, but yeah, it would have been easier to beat a lot of other teams. It would have been easier to beat a lot of other countries. All right. I'd have felt much more like, yeah, take that, had we had beaten another country.
Like Greenland?
You always find a way, don't you? You guys always find a way. I'm trying to keep it to the Olympics here. Peter on 422. He's next up on the fan. Hello, Peter.
Hi, Ken. How you doing?
Wonderful, Peter. Go ahead.
Well, sorry to pull nerd rank, but lacrosse is Canada's national sport, not hockey.
You're crazy. That's crazy.
But Ken, I grew up playing hockey. I'm with you. I love Canada. I love Canadians, except when it comes to international hockey. Then I hate the Canadian national team. However, I am very proud of you because empathy is important, sir. So being empathetic towards the woes of your foe
Thank you.
And being respectful, that is important, and especially in international hockey.
Yeah.
The handshake is always the most important thing in hockey. That you line up, you shake hands, you say good game, and then you either sulk or you celebrate. So
there's a lot of sides of it. Is there anybody?
I'm disappointed in the callers right now. I'm disappointed in you, Ken.
Why?
This is the American team won the gold medal over Canada. It doesn't matter.
That's great.
They won the gold medal. Come on.
I'm glad. It is good.
USA.
No, it's good.
USA.
Listen, it's great. I'm glad they did it. I can have a little bit of empathy for Team Canada, can I not?
Not today, Ken.
No, I can. Yes, I can. Yes, I can, and yes, I will. They're nice people up there. There's some Browns fans up there.
Yeah, cool. And then they come into our city when the Blue Jays come and they start chanting about their health care.
Yeah, do you feel bad then?
Yeah. All right, I will admit that's a little annoying. That's a little annoying.
John Philip Sousa didn't create marches for Canada. He did it for the USA.
They realized Ken's going to go downstairs and get some Molson.
Of course he is.
All right. Well, I'm not trying to turn it into
stereotypical Canadian
another
things.
thing. I'm not trying to be John Candy here in Canadian bacon, even though he's also from Canada. I don't think the beer sucks or anything. It's just I'd rather have an American lager, if that's okay. I got nothing against Labatt or Molson or any of those.
There's some Labatt over there at the arena.
This is like if I got a choice, I'm probably going to choose. I mean, I like Busch Light, guys. Come on, look at me.
It's an American beer, and yet
I'm an American guy.
You feel bad today.
I don't feel like terrible, or I would have said like I wish they would have won, which I don't. I'm glad Team USA won. I'm saying there was a lot. You can't have a little bit of empathy.
Now it makes sense. He's always like, who watches SNL? I watch SCTV.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a pull by you. Kids in the Hall.
That's another good one.
Instead of 216-474-0092. Fine. Here we go. Just rip me. Here we are. John on 480. Hello, John.
Hey, how are you today?
I'm wonderful, John.
I just wanted to know if you're wearing your Maple Leaf panties today, Kenny.
I don't wear panties.
That's right. Tell him, John.
Thank you, John.
Never even tried it?
I remember the underwear my wife got me for when I got my vasectomy. I thought felt a little sexy at first.
A little snug?
Dance in front of the mirror?
No, I did not do that. You know I can't look at myself.
We have music for that. We can't play it anymore.
We can't play that.
Paul in Miami. Hello, Paul.
Ken, I don't know what's wrong with you. I mean, my blood type is red, white, and blue today.
Oh, my God.
We beat Canada. No, you should want to beat Canada. To be the best, you got to beat the best. And we beat them at their sport.
That's a good point.
So
it wasn't like
I'm not apologetic at all.
Yeah. I would have been way more upset. Like I did not like it when the Swedes tied it up a few days ago. I was way more upset with the Swedes. I ain't gonna lie to you, Paul. I was upset.
Did the Italians even field the hockey team?
I don't know if they did or not. I don't know if they
did, but they lost every game because they're terrible.
See, I wouldn't know. I had no idea.
All it was an American eagle choking out a Canadian geese yesterday.
Oh, it's so
That's
beautiful.
What it was.
Yes.
I'd play Freebird like they used all.
Is goose the national bird of Canada?
Yeah.
Is it really?
I have no clue. It's either duck.
I mean, I have dreamt of the day I will wake up and there is a bald eagle sitting on my rooftop, and I had the reality of Canadian geese up on my rooftop 2 springs ago. I told you that was horrific, and people were like, "There's nothing you can do." And then you guys gave me a bunch of ideas, like there's something you can do. I'm like, nah, I'm not shooting at my own roof. Plus, it's illegal to kill them things.
The national bird of Canada is called a gray jay or a whiskey jack. I've never heard of it.
Well, now I feel a little bit better about being
the national
Canada.
bird of America.
Yeah, we know what
is
it is.
The eagle.
Bald eagle.
That's right.
Making a comeback.
Dude, that's all they're... You guys might as well be called the Avon Lake Bald Eagles against the Avon Eagles, because that's all you see is bald eagles over there in Avon Lake. Come on over. They come
They're
right
on the
up.
street.
They walk right up to all they need out of his hand. I never get to see him. Meanwhile, he's like the woman in Home Alone 2, except with bald eagles on either arm.
That's right. Same hat.
Kevin, run! Smell had to be unimaginable. Unimaginable. All right, coming up next, Justin Terminy.
They were turtle doves, damn it.
Justin Terminy.
2 of them.
Yeah, thanks. I gotta go steal a few things here from this orchestra here so I can pay for my dinner tonight. Thanks for the turtle doves, kid. You really did great by me.
He's celebrating during Boxing Day.
You telling me you couldn't have taken a stack out of what the Wet Bandits had taken and just given it to her? Nah. Here's some turtle doves. You'll always remember me as you're trying to make soup. Kevin's ordering up $900 in room service. Here's your turtle dove. What a kid. Well done, Kevin. You left him a 3rd time. All right, coming up next, Justin Terminy going to join us on the show, NBA Today on Sirius XM NBA Radio. Also, 8:45, a major controversy brewing for Browns fans. I'm dead serious. Some major controversy out of the Combine of all places, where we're not looking for a quarterback, but it's still somehow going to rein us in. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima, live on The Fan.
It's Anthony Lima for QC Kinetics, where 40,000 people have
Browns playlist and 92.3 The Fan on the Odyssey app. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
I'm just getting a bunch of Mountie memes.
As you should.
I love America. From sea to shining sea, brother. But come on, you're allowed to like Canada. They're nice people up there, is what I'm trying to say, all right? Justin Terminy joins us right now. He's on the Make It Right Call Kyle Wright hotline. He just texted me. Let's get to him as soon as we possibly can. He's from the NBA today on SiriusXM NBA TV as well as NBA Radio. Justin, good morning to you.
I don't like America today because I'm under about 2 feet of snow here in the Northeast. What is it like in Cleveland? It's horrific here.
It's not that terrible here. It's not that bad. I don't want to sit here and complain about it.
Yeah, it's got to be international news. Anytime you guys get a few snowflakes.
Lord Almighty.
This is what happens.
Lord
Well,
Almighty.
I don't care, where it's making news. I care about the fact that I got to go outside and shovel it. So
you got to shovel it?
Yeah, I got to shovel it.
Oh, well, you got to get yourself a snowblower.
Well, I have one of those as well.
So you're going to shovel it even though you have a snowblower? Why are you going to shovel it when you have a snowblower?
There are places you can't get into that you got to shovel, and then you got to get it off the car.
You just don't go to those places.
You can't put the snowblower on top of the car, can you, dummy?
Well, no, but you don't use a shovel on top of the car now, do you? You're going to scratch up the car. Use a brush, dummy.
You lose a broom, a brush.
You've never done any of this, have you? You've never done any of this.
A brush will take you forever. You take a broom and do it. A brush?
No, you don't. You take a brush because you're not going to scratch it up as bad. Use a broom on other things. You're going to scratch up your paint.
A brush is for your car. A broom is for your hair. A broom is for the car.
No,
I mean you gave up your posh waterfront living in California for this. So there you go.
All right, can we get down to business? I penciled in the Cavs to the NBA Finals on Friday. Then they went on. They lost to Oklahoma City yesterday afternoon. Do I have to take that back, or am I still good to go?
No, because you penciled them in to go to the finals. You didn't pencil them in to win the finals, which they have no shot of if they can't beat the Thunder, where they're missing basically their three most important players. And I say even A.J. Mitchell is that, because when you get Jalen Williams and SGA out, who are your two primary ball handlers, he's your third guy. They didn't have a ball handler really on the floor yesterday, and you still got your butt kicked there. So the concern is not getting through the Eastern Conference. They're capable of doing that. I would probably even call them the favorite. But as far as winning the whole thing, unless you clearly get major injuries coming out of the West, you don't have a shot at that, but neither does anybody else in the East.
Obviously, going on the road to that place with or without their best players, when you shoot 51% from three and you make 21 of them and you have a 24-point edge at the three-point line, it's going to be tough to win in this league. Are you buying any of the schedule complaints that have been out there, the 3 games and 90-some hours, as this has been kind of a situation that's happened in the NBA with them taking the week off? They put other teams through this. Denver just went through this as well.
Yeah, I was going to point out Denver did the same exact thing, and they also lost to a team that they had no business losing to. Again, that's been the history of the NBA. I don't think it's just something now. I mean, you were growing up, they were playing 3 games in 3 nights, 5 games before that, 5 and 6 nights in 6 different cities or 5 different cities.
What was the rush? Were they trying to cram the season in a month and a half?
Yeah, I don't know what they were doing back then, but they certainly weren't complaining about it as much as they do today, even though it's less strenuous.
Oh, that's the end of the answer. All right, Tone, go right on ahead.
I always say, anytime Terminy comes on, he just wants to start ripping today's players as if all they do is complain every single day.
No. I'm ripping society overall.
Oh,
not the players.
Yeah,
it's society in general.
All right, Justin, you've had a chance now to see 5 James Harden games. What do you make of the chemistry that's there with Donovan Mitchell? I mean, this was their first loss. But how do you feel so far about this trade, everything post Darius Garland?
Yeah, I love it. For one, you said I've seen 5 games with James Harden in Cleveland. That's probably more than I've seen from Darius Garland over the last 2 years because he's never in the lineup. So just based off availability, that's a major thing. And then the other thing is, he's going to help you out rebounding because I think that's a major issue. And yesterday he wasn't great, I don't think, on the boards. But, Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen, I think that's probably a little bit of a weakness is them on the glass. So Harden's a massive upgrade over Garland in that regard.
Justin Terminy joining us on the show. Is Evan Mobley, what's the truth about Evan Mobley? We've gone from unicorn to, after yesterday, I had people in the mentions saying how he's a bust. What is Evan Mobley, friend?
Well, he's certainly not the best player in that draft, right? For years, I think people are going, oh, it's Scotty Barnes. It's Evan Mobley. It's Cade Cunningham. He's clearly not Cade Cunningham. That guy's on a completely different level. And it's a little frustrating, I guess, maybe the lack of the leap. You even had, the comparisons. He's Duncan. He's Garnett when he first got into the league. We talked to Kenny Atkinson out at Summer League where he said if the next couple of years, if he's not an MVP candidate, that'll be a disappointment. So if that's, if that's Kenny's barometer, then I would say he's on schedule to be a disappointment because I don't see him ever becoming an MVP candidate. As a matter of fact, right now, if you were to say, all right, who's the guy that you're probably relying on the most heading into the playoffs, Donovan Mitchell would be 1. Harden, even though he's got all the massive playoff chokes, would be number 2 on that list. And then Evan Mobley would be 3. So, that's far from an MVP candidate in my estimation.
All right, you said it. We're talking to Justin Terminy right now on the hotline. You just said that, you made note, and many do, and we've had our producers from Philly, John, who left you on hold for about 8 minutes before he came on the air. He came in, and basically every day he keeps saying what a choke artist James Harden is in the playoffs. And then I said, well, he's actually one of the leading active scorers in the playoffs, one of the leading active assist guys in the playoffs. I think 3rd most wins of anybody in the playoffs behind, LeBron James. So he's actually had a lot of success in the playoffs. Why is it that nobody's going to give him credit for any of that when he's done a lot more winning than most of the other guys that are currently in the NBA?
Yeah, because he also has the biggest chokes on the list, probably of anybody in NBA history that's that good offensively, right? I mean, can you name as many, absolute no-shows for some of these other all-time greats? There's one here or there. Everybody gets one excuse or two. He's had games where, we've literally jumped on the air the next day and said, did he, A, have a concussion, or B, is he intoxicated? I mean, that's how bad he's been in spots. There's 2 of 11 for 7 points in a game against San Antonio. You saw what he did in Game 7 a couple of years ago against Boston, where he's not even looking at the rim. So that doesn't concern you at all. You're just defending because he's had some great performance, because he has. In that series against Boston that went 7 games a couple of years ago that they lost, he was great in Game 1 without Embiid. He was great in Game 3, I think. But then the other 5, he was a complete no-show, including Game 7. Game 7 last year against Denver. Didn't even look at the rim.
After his huge Game 6, it was the only reason they even got to Game 7. So this is part of
got you there, buddy.
Well, it's just, you're right. Everything you just said was right. I've gone after Harden, just like everybody has gone after Harden for those. But when there are no easy solutions, like the Cavs, they couldn't just, in my opinion, they couldn't just stay content and sit there and hope, A, Darius would be healthy, and B, Darius would be impactful in the playoffs. He just hasn't been either of those things.
Yeah, I mean, for as many critical things that I just said about Harden, I did open it up by saying that they're the favorite in the Eastern Conference. I think they are the favorite in the Eastern Conference. They weren't prior to the trade, so I like the trade. It's an upgrade. Even if he doesn't play well, it's an upgrade because he's actually out there, unlike Darius Garland. And then run through some of the performances that Garland's had. Garland's had some duds just like Harden, but he hasn't had the good games to go with Harden, right? So, he's been equally, if not worse, in the postseason. The difference is, I guess, you hold Harden more accountable because Harden's viewed as an all-time great where Darius Garland isn't. So, even though you have critical things to say of Harden, and there certainly are historic no-shows, still definitely an upgrade over Darius Garland. I'd rather have bad James Harden than, I guess, average Darius Garland.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have had to come to a uncomfortable truth about that. Because one guy's been able to make an immediate impact and has kind of changed the conversation around this team. But I think you understand exactly why we are defensive of him, because, they make this trade. This is going to give us the best chance to get to the finals or perhaps win the finals. since they brought Donovan Mitchell here. It was a necessary move to make there. So I guess I should ask, like, what can they prove this week other than just winning the games? Like, they play New York this week. They play at Detroit on Friday. What can they prove other than just winning that this is the team that can go to the finals?
Yeah, I mean, I think they've already kind of done that over the last couple of weeks, even dating back prior to the Harden trade. They were starting to play good basketball. I think they got the best record in the NBA for over a month right now. New York's not great, so you go in there. I mean, I guess just get confidence. Detroit, I feel really good about, but Detroit also has no experience. How many times in NBA history has a team with zero experience made a jump from not winning a playoff series to getting all the way to the finals, never mind winning the whole thing? Again, I think it's just continue to build chemistry. You almost want to play some close games. Like we had Donovan Mitchell on the show a couple of days ago out at All-Star Weekend, so a week ago. He's like, everything looks good right now, but we almost have to get into some situations where we test ourselves back up against the wall. So I would say that you'd rather have a close game against the Knicks, a close game against Detroit. Even if you lose it, that might be better than a 15-point win because you got to work on, who's taking the last shot, who's creating down the stretch, and that's something these guys haven't been in that type of situation together in.
Justin Terminy joining us here on the Make It Right Call Kyle Wright hotline. How do you fix tanking?
Well, I mean, first of all, it shouldn't be fixed for another 5 years, so it should be grandfathered in because if not, nobody will catch the team that you were playing yesterday in Oklahoma City because Oklahoma City tanked. They built a juggernaut off the back of tanking, as did San Antonio. Now they want to pull the ladder up on everybody else. So how are other teams, especially in small markets, supposed to build contenders that can beat them when they were allowed to lose for multiple years to stack their roster, and now you're going to rectify it? So my first thing is whatever you come to a conclusion on, it can't be fixed for 5 years, and give teams a warning. And then secondly, like my solution is very convoluted. It takes too long to explain, but I've only heard one good one, and it's the one that I came up with.
I heard one where everybody just gets one ping pong ball and that's it. And it was Charles Barkley.
Yeah, Barkley brought that up. And then like relegation sounds like it's awesome, and that would work. But the owners aren't going to go for that, so that's not even realistic to bring up. My thing is you just go like basically all-star break. You put everybody into 3 different tiers. So the 10 worst teams at that point, the 10 middle teams, the 10 best teams. And then from that point on, you reward wins. So every win that a team in the top 10 tier gets, they get 1 ping pong ball. The second tier, everybody gets like 2 or 3. And then the worst tier, every win they get, it's like 5. So then you incentivize winning, but even the good teams, can rack up lottery balls. And even the bad teams' coaches are going to want to win. So I don't know if I was able to fit that in succinctly, but that's what I would go with. Plus, it keeps everybody interested.
One final thing for me, Justin, I know you kind of talked about the rest of the Eastern Conference, but does this make sense for the Boston Celtics to try to do this at the end of the season down the stretch with Jason Tatum after the injury?
Yeah, I think that it actually would be good for them this year. My concern is next year with the ego of Jaylen Brown, because Tatum to me is clearly the better of the 2 players. Is he going to is like Jaylen Brown going to be willing to give up the spotlight, the number 1, position that he's had, getting announced last at games? I'm very interested to see how it affects his ego. But Boston's really good right now. But one of the reasons they're good is they just play harder than everybody else. Like the talent wasn't the issue last night in that Lakers-Celtics game. It's that the Lakers are one of the least hard-playing teams in the entire league. Boston busts their butt every single night. So they're a good regular season team like this. I don't think they can get to the finals, but if you brought Jason Tatum back and essentially gave him like Sam Hauser's minutes, then I think they would have a shot of getting there. So I think it does make sense to bring him back for this year.
Find him on social media at Terminy Radio. He has his Instagram account back, but he doesn't really use it that much anymore. Justin, thank you very much for the time.
Yeah, well, that'll be changing here coming up. I just hired somebody to help me, to dive into the Instagram thing.
You've hired somebody to help you with that?
Yes, because I'm getting a lot of pressure here from my company. Oh, you got to up your followers and your activity. I understand, but I've got a lot to blow because I'm so listen, if you paid me for the amount of time I was on this show today, based off the phone call, I'd probably get, $200. I feel like I've been on the line for an hour and a half.
Well, he was pissed, wasn't he? All right, Justin, thank you very much for the time.
All right, farewell.
Goodbye. Justin Terminy on the Make It Right, Call Kyle Right hotline.
How about Terminy saying, I'd rather have a bad James Harden in the playoffs than an average Darius Garland?
That's a strong statement to make. Also, what he just said about the finals, where we kind of glossed over it, where he basically was like, yeah, you don't have a chance to win the finals if you can't beat them without Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. That, and we have a major controversy at the Combine brewing for Browns fans. You wouldn't believe it, but we do. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima, live on The Fan. Peter and Company.
because when you get Jalen Williams and SGA out, who are your two primary ball handlers, he's your third guy. They didn't have a ball handler really on the floor yesterday, and you still got your butt kicked there. So the concern is not getting through the Eastern Conference. They're capable of doing that. I would probably even call them the favorite. But as far as winning the whole thing, unless you clearly get major injuries coming out of the West, you don't have a shot at that, but neither does anybody else in the East.
Yeah, that's Justin Terminy with us just moments ago, which was, boy, that was as right in the face as you could possibly find it when it comes to what the Cavs' chances are going in if they were to get to the NBA Finals, which I still have them penciled in. I know a lot of people want to talk tough after yesterday. It wasn't a good start. They lost the basketball game. They played obviously better down the stretch because you couldn't play much worse than how they started yesterday. But I still have them penciled in for the finals. But when I said about the finals, he goes, well, you ain't going to win it because of the way they played against Oklahoma City. It's like, well, that's a strong sentiment to make because, the whole time in the back of your head, you had to be wondering when they were down 19-5 at one point and then, 26-5 at one point. It's like, boy, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander isn't even on the floor right now.
All right, so there's no doubt that Oklahoma City is the favorite. They will continue to be the favorites.
Clearly.
But does anybody remember last year what happened to the Oklahoma City Thunder?
No.
That they were supposed to...
You got to remind me.
They were the champions. They are the defending champions. They also were losing in Game 7 to the Indiana Pacers, and that was right as the best player of the Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton, went down with the injury.
Okay, that's true.
And that was it. They could have lost last year to the Pacers, of which they were overwhelming favorites.
They were overwhelming favorites, you're right.
All that is to say, and we've been the beneficiary of this in the past. Anybody remember 2016? Like, we remember all the amazing moments from our Cavs, but do you remember how difficult it actually turned out for Golden State to get to the finals? Like, you are the beneficiary. Not that it's going to be easy in the East. It certainly isn't. But you're definitely the beneficiary, whoever comes out of the East, of what will the team that comes out of the West, most likely Oklahoma City, have had to do to get there? Will they be healthy? Will they be exhausted? Will they have had 7-game gauntlets? Will they have had to go up against Wemby or Luka? Or you could go through the litany, Jokic. You'll have to play those guys, and it's not going to be easy for them because the West is so tough those series. Having to go up against Minnesota and Anthony Edwards is a bona fide superstar.
Well, there's also this, and we didn't think about this when LeBron was here either time, is that when you had, it was at least the second time around, because then you already had Kyrie, then you went and got Kevin Love, and it was just basically, listen, you need to overwhelm all these teams, and then you have another collection of talent. We didn't focus a lot on matchups the last time we were an elite-level basketball team. We won 64 games last year, the Cavs did, but they weren't an elite-level basketball team, obviously, by how it finished up. Matchups, I think, are obviously extremely important. And to that, a general Cavs fan, that's something that's going to be right up your alley. For a general Cavs fan, there's going to be a lot of things to pay attention to in these games about matchups. What you do against New York, what you do against Detroit, both these teams you played this week, what you're going to be able to do in the postseason against them. And then obviously matchups came around because Indiana, they just proved to be a matchup nightmare for everybody they played, including a team that, you're right, they were overwhelming underdogs against the Oklahoma City Thunder last year, and they took them to 7 games. You're right about that, and it's something that I haven't paid that close. Matchups are important, but obviously you didn't pay that close of attention to it the last time. It's go out, roll everybody, and figure out a way if you can beat Golden State, go ahead and do it. It was overall talent. This matchup's going to be very important, and right now, one of the things that I do worry about, and I'll worry about this a little bit tomorrow and on Friday against Detroit, not as much against Milwaukee, but still I guess it would be a consideration, clearly, is what do you do about your front court? Because you're getting smoked in the front court against these teams that have guys who are willing to pay the fiddler when you're not. You're just not. And I've long been a believer that you can develop toughness. There's a point where you can just say enough's enough. And there's plenty of people who disagree with me. And so far, I tell you what, they're right. Because every time you play against a serious competitor at the block, they get shoved around. And it doesn't have to be a bigger body. I say bigger. Again, Chet Holmgren weighs about as much as you, and he's over 7 feet tall. Smoked you at the glass yesterday. Absolutely smoked you. So matchups are going to be important. I wanted to talk about this in this segment. I'm not sure how much time we have, but you got to bring this up now. There's apparently a controversy brewing over at the Combine now. We'll have Mike Rener joining us from CBS Sports, NFL draft analyst, at 9:20 this morning. There's a controversy brewing at the Combine right now for Browns fans to pay attention to.
Apparently, Fernando Mendoza is making waves, Kenny, and especially with one fan base in particular, because he has decided to skip out of throwing at the NFL Combine and instead will show off the arm at Indiana's Pro Day. And if you're wondering, why is that controversial? We've seen more and more players.
I wondered that. I didn't
see
see this, yes.
It's because the Shedeur Sanders fans have gotten a hold of this and want to know, what is he difficult to deal with? Does this mean there are character concerns? Is this going to have teams taking him off their draft boards over this? Does he not understand working with the process and working with the NFL? Basically, all the things that were said about Shedeur when he decided
Was
to
that
do.
said during the Combine against Shedeur? See, there's a lot of things. When Jimmy said what he said, and I want to say that was still after the Combine, I took quarterback off the list. When Jimmy said that they were willing to wait, I took QB off the list. And so I got to tell you, and maybe we did have, I'm trying to remember, I vaguely recollect a conversation about him not throwing at the Combine. But I also, and you guys are going to have to test this, and I know the Shedeur Sanders fans will, going back and finding, because I couldn't have thought it was that big of an issue, because I don't think it's a big issue anymore, because nobody throws at the Combine anymore. There was a time when guys did throw at the Combine all the time, and so the first people who didn't do it, I'm sure I was pretty critical of them, but it's been years since the major characters have thrown at the Combine. It usually only makes you look worse. You always wait until the pro day to throw. So I couldn't have been that upset at all that Shedeur Sanders didn't throw at the Combine. I don't remember. But if you were a big-time Sanders fan, which that's where the internet is, if you're a big-time Sanders fan and people aren't making a big deal, yeah, I know one's a number one overall pick, but at the time, a lot of people thought Shedeur Sanders was going top 10. So let's not even start that argument. That would be revisionist. Then, yeah, I think it would be a big issue to those folks, wouldn't it? Would it not be a big issue to them?
Well, I think, obviously, the way things played out is it seems, because I don't know what's in the minds of all the GMs and all the different buildings around the NFL, but, the autopsy on the pre-draft stuff for Shedeur turned out to be very unfavorable. Like he somehow, some way, he turned off all these NFL teams for, the drop that ended up happening in the draft. That, there were all the rumors, there were the reports, and the Sanders people get mad anytime we reference those about whether it was his attitude or the things that he wasn't
just don't
willing
know
to
for
do.
Sure.
Or
no one has given us a concrete answer on any of it.
With these GMs,
okay,
whatever
nobody's given us a concrete answer on any of it.
But we do know that he dropped, right? We all agree he dropped far below what anybody thought he would go.
Well, obviously, he dropped to the fifth round.
And we also know that all these agents, for players that are prospects that are going to be drafted, they have the do's and don'ts for every guy, depending on where they are. So Fernando Mendoza is the Heisman Trophy winner, the reigning national champion, and he's going to go number one. He doesn't have to do anything. He has all the leverage in the world. Shedeur might have thought he had all the leverage in the world last year, and turns out he didn't, according to how the NFL GMs treated him. So he probably had to do a little more. Fernando doesn't. Fernando just has one of the great quarterbacking seasons in terms of accomplishments anyone will ever have.
Clearly, it cost him somewhat in the draft. But I just don't know where Fernando Mendoza is a lightning rod, where he's going to be the number one overall pick. Why would you throw in the Combine?
You wouldn't.
I don't even know if he has to throw at the pro day.
I don't think he has to do a pro day. Why would he have to?
All right,
he's going number one.
474-0092. There's that, and I want to make sure Mike Rener is going to join us at 9:22. And whether or not you've jumped off the bandwagon that I had people building on Friday only after one game. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima, take us with you to work on the free Odyssey app.
All right, real estate.
92.3 The Fan on the Odyssey app for all today's headline segments. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
There's Cavs and there's NBA news that happens while you at work. Baskin and Phelps, weekday mornings starting at 10.
Has any of the heat cooled off about the Cavs losing yesterday?
No, people are
Has
losing.
any of the heat?
People are losing. Well, people are either being practical, like, hey, this is a strange time in the schedule. You're on the road.
It's a strange time in our lives.
The 3 games in 90-some hours, kind of a scheduled loss, even though you were favored in the game by 5.5.
Well, yeah, you had your stars playing, and there was like 2 guys out for Oklahoma City.
Also, when do you ever hear me be honest with the fans here? When do you ever hear me bitch about officiating?
Never.
And by the way, I have not brought it up until now, 3 hours later.
Wish I could say differently, but never.
They got the screws put to them throughout that game.
Oh, my God. Well, Kenny Atkinson got... I got to tell you, he gets them at the best time. He got a TV timeout technical. He got a technical during the timeout. I didn't realize. I had no idea. He's tied for second in technical fouls this year from head coaches. Of course, you know who's number
Behind
one.
number one?
JB Bickerstaff.
That's right.
Because I'm like, oh, man, he handles the refs so much better. No, he's just not the number one guy. He's almost as bad as JB Bickerstaff, but he's not as bad as JB Bickerstaff.
When it's time and he fit, but the thing is, it bought him nothing yesterday. Normally, when you get a T, and you remember Greg Popovich was great at this, Phil Jackson was great at this, they would be very diplomatic in their usage. And when it's time to go after the refs, you do it to either rile up your guys, because they will get behind that as long as you're not doing it every other minute like JB, or normally you get the other 2 refs to kind of go, okay, we owe them one now. And they couldn't get it yesterday. You know, they got robbed of that goaltend, which turned into 3 the other way immediately. That's a 5-point swing. They never got it back. You know, then there was Donovan, who, Donovan knows how to bait when to end maybe another team's run. He knows when it's time, because he doesn't do it like Harden used to, when it was like the exclusive way that you try to get to the line. But he got like hogtied, 35 feet from the basket and nothing. They just let him play.
Oh, there were a couple of bad ones. Now, I've become so used to I've become so used to rolling my eyes when people complain about refs, because I think in basketball you can complain about refs all the time. But I tell you, as a coach, it's just something that's one of the few things I don't know how. I got to ask them about their relationships with refs, because I used to see JB Bickerstaff do it all the time, and I'm like, man, you're going to get us killed here, man. We ain't going to be able to do anything just because you keep riding these refs and you keep doing it. And I do the same thing when it comes to the NFL, and I do the same thing when it comes to baseball. But it also is like, I don't understand the same level they do, where it's like, hey, that's actually their full-time job, is to do this. In the NBA, Major League Baseball, the NFL, not college football, but in those 3, it's like their full-time job. That relationship I don't understand. I do not understand it. In any other walk of life, it's like, hey, be nice, it's not their full-time thing. But when it comes to that stuff,
well, the coaches,
I just don't get it.
They know their families. Yeah, they know everything about these guys.
Well, and some of these guys they've known for 20 plus years when they see these guys, and when they were assistants, when they were head coaches, when they're head coaches at previous stops, like they've known these guys for a long time. So it's a different thing, and it'd just be known as a guy screaming at everybody. But I don't really see, like, I used to see JB Bickerstaff at least once a night. It seemed to be in somebody's face, mad over what was going on. I've only seen a handful of Kenny Atkinson. It's been a little bit more undercover.
But man,
with Kenny.
And like I said, normally you get something out of going after the refs. And they got nothing out of it. They did not get any makeup calls, whatever. That's not the reason they lost the game, obviously. Whether it's the refs, the schedule, anything, you need more than 2 rebounds out of your fantastic defensive player of the year center. You also need Jared Allen. Look, I don't expect him to drop 40 and have, that's not the type of player he really is. That's why that stood out that he got 40. But he has been unbelievable now for a month. People were talking about him as like, if you could combine the months, like he's been one of the better players in the league.
Yeah.
And then yesterday he looked like Jared Allen in the playoffs.
Yesterday was a major league letdown. I mean, there's no other way around it. Him and Evan Mobley. Now, I know Evan Mobley was on a minutes restriction, but, we are coming down to a time here, guys, or I can't be nice and positive forever. And we've been very agitated at times when they lost in the postseason. I mean, you guys, we have to understand what this move symbolized. When they made this move, they were willing to move off Kobe Altman was willing to move off of one of his top 5 draft picks, a guy that he later turned around and extended and gave a max to. He was willing to move off of that guy. We don't talk enough about that. When you take a guy that high in the draft and in that sport, you are telling everybody you believe that strongly in that guy. And when you were willing to jump off that guy, that means it's all up for grabs now. You bring in James Harden, it means that it tells everybody, I think that there was a seriousness, even though you spent the most on the roster that you've ever spent, anybody else in the NBA. Obviously, you don't think that Donovan Mitchell's out there for his health. It was always kind of a believed sort of implied thing how serious they were. When you make a trade for James Harden, you let everybody know how serious this is, especially when you move off from a guy that you drafted. And I don't think it's set in necessarily to everybody, or at least I hope it has, and I hope I'm wrong, but it doesn't feel like that. Because yesterday I did think if I'm upset about anything, it's a missed opportunity to assert yourself as how different you are in the front court. And you got hammered in the front court, which is like, hey, you can trade for James Harden, you could trade for him again. You still have Donovan Mitchell, and those guys are great. You have a bigger guard than what you had before, and he's more sturdy, and he should be able to help you better. But your problem when it comes to the Eastern Conference playoffs, that's still a problem. Getting pushed around inside, not getting rebounds, getting out-rebounded 1-2, I mean, that is ugly and demoralizing to a fan base. And that's been your major problem. And that problem poking its head up again yesterday is a major issue for Cavs fans. That one, I can't fight you on that one, man. 2 rebounds in 20 minutes ain't great. Like it's not good.
I didn't kill the Cavs defense for the fact that Oklahoma City comes out and hits how many threes in the first quarter? It felt like 10. It was just insane. I don't necessarily kill in today's day and age in the NBA when a team is on, they're on, and it's hard to come out and guard guys like Isaiah Joe. You're supposed to guard him 40 feet from the basket.
Yeah.
Like that's hard enough because then you're scrambling, you're running around. Evan's clearly not totally healthy because Unicorn is him on defense. Holy cow, that guy can guard every position and seamlessly go from the three-point line to then protecting at the rim. You notice he wasn't able to protect at the rim yesterday, so he's still not moving the way that Evan Mobley can typically move.
Fair. Kawhi in Bedford, I hope I'm saying that right. You're next up on the fan. Hello.
Hey, this is Cool Ray from Bedford.
Cool Ray. All right, Cool Ray in Bedford. All right, we have a new producer, so we got to get that fixed. Go ahead, Ray.
Hey, what's up, man? So I'm going to tell you guys, I know you guys going to hate it, but you guys keep giving Mobley all his love, and I've been telling you guys for years, man, he's an average player. Yes, he's a great defensive player. But the reason that they lost yesterday, and you can watch the film, is that he is no offensive threat. And when he's in there, they clog in the middle. You guys said on your show, when he comes back, y'all got to defer to Cavs. We're going to say how they're going to defer to Mobley. No, when he was gone, everybody looked good. We spread the floor. We had three-point shooters on the wing. The 2 guards did what they did, and Allen looked great. You bring him back, what happened? They clogged the middle. They left him open for a wide-open 3. I think the guy even turned his back on him, and he missed it. Like, this is why the Cavs are going to lose with Mobley. Mobley needs to be coming off the bench, supporting Jared Allen. Allen is a true center. So is Mobley. We just don't expect Allen to go out there and shoot threes or try to attempt the 3 the way Mobley does. But other than that, the way this team won those 7 games, they spread the floor. Allen did what he did. Donovan Mitchell did what he did. Man, this team looked great. And they're going to look the same.
Cool, Ray, you said average, though. Cool, Ray, I just got to stop you. You said average. Come on, reigning defensive player of the year, second team All-NBA is not average.
He's a good NBA player. He's a great defensive player. Those type players normally come off the bench. We just, in here in Cleveland, has decided to anoint him as the next big thing. That's all it really is. But that's why if you look at what the teams that beat the Cavs like this, they got scoring off the forward position. We don't have that. So they could clog the paint. The lobs, all that, great when it looks great.
Anthony, Cool Ray is saying something. Thank you for the call. He's saying some things that I can't take back.
All right, but hold on. He's saying some uncomfortable truths. I mean, but to say
of what I've said about him.
To say Evan's an average player,
but he's above average. I understand that, but I did
second team All NBA last year,
and that's all true. It's all true. But we've also made him out to be a top 1% guy.
But it's just
he's not been a top 1% guy.
If you're here, this is what happens after their one loss. My God, this team has been playing sensational basketball. They make two big trades.
I want to agree with you.
They're weaving in three guys, and then the Mobley injury and the Wade injury, and who knows if Max Strus is even going to be a part of this team this year. But you factor all of that in. They're trying to figure out rotations. They're on the road. Their third game. Like, I can give you 1,000 excuses. I thought they got a bad whistle yesterday, and I think most people agree. My God, the broadcast kept bringing it up, how bad of a whistle the Cavs were getting. And all I get is from producer John, Harden sucks, can't win with him. Evan Mobley from Cool Ray, average player. Like, is this what it comes down to? How many good players do you guys think are in the NBA?
What John
you guys
said
think there are
wasn't
7
true.
good players in the league?
No, you're going overboard here. You sound like me, and I can't handle it. Because you can't just use John and you can't just use Cool Ray about it. But I will use Cool Ray because I think that Cool Ray has a sentiment of what a lot of people have said about Evan Mobley for a long time, of which I have denied this entire time. We are getting to a point here. This is serious business. This is serious business. So I'm not going to use a February 22nd loss as a reason to not watch Cavs basketball anymore. That's not what I'm pointing out. But there's a level of seriousness that has to happen even with the minutes restriction. And we are not getting it out of the front court. We're able to do it against Charlotte, who's a better basketball team than obviously they started out the season, but still not taken very seriously, and a bunch of also-rans. It has been how many years that we've been beating up on garbage? People want to see results against the best. They want to feel better about it. Or you're going to have more of what it was. And if you think today was bad, just wait and see if they lose tomorrow against the Knicks, what we're going to deal with on Wednesday. And this is coming from a guy who just penciled them in the finals.
They've got Detroit, and you guys are acting like you've never seen a regular season play out before in the NBA. The team that's been playing better than just about everybody lost one game, and now all our players are either average or they suck. Come on.
Up next, Mike Rener, CBS Sports, whether or not he thinks Evan Mobley sucks. No, he's an NFL draft analyst. I want to hear if this Mendoza stuff is true, which some people are trying to jog some memories right now on the phone. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima. Can it all be offense in the first round, or can we take a defensive guy, or is that against the law for me to say? Let's find out from Mike Rener, CBS Sports and 5 on the Fan.
behind only Norway, who collected 41 medals, including a Winter Olympics record 18 golds. Listen to The Fan Rewind, weeknights 11 to midnight. All the best segments from all our shows can always listen on the Odyssey app. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
Well, people either 100% agree with Cool Ray, and then there's people who absolutely, totally disagree with Cool Ray.
Then there's people like Ken Carman that just did this.
This is serious business. So I'm not going to use a February 22nd loss as a reason to not watch Cavs basketball anymore. That's not what I'm pointing out. But there's a level of seriousness that has to happen even with the minutes restriction. And we are not getting it out of the front court. We're able to do it against Charlotte, who's a better basketball team than obviously they started out the season, but still not taken very seriously, and a bunch of also-rans. It has been how many years that we've been beating up on garbage? People want to see results against the best. They want to feel better about it. Or you're going to have more of what it was. And if you think today was bad, just wait and see if they lose tomorrow against the Knicks, what we're going to deal with on Wednesday. And this is coming from a guy who just penciled them in the final. So what am I? I got called a flip-flopper on YouTube. What am I flip-flopping about? I'm not flip-flopping on anything. I don't want to make a big deal on February 22nd, but when the problem is indicative of a problem that they've had for a long period of time, I'm not going to deny that truth. And if you're a person who is a Cavs truther or something like that, yeah, that played right into your hand yesterday. Flat out. There is a section of fans that have been upset with this franchise since they traded Colin Sexton, for crying out loud. So they're all waiting for the other shoe to drop, it seems. So we'll find out later on today. Is the one half in the show today in the afternoon? Or is it Jonathan that's out? I don't know which one's which. I know you'll get a dose of Daryl this afternoon. Well, I don't know who he's in for. That's enough to keep everybody coming in. But if he's in for Nick, I'll be disappointed because Nick's been a guy who was like, well, I don't know how much this is really going to help. And obviously James Harden has made a tremendous difference. But if we're still saying the same thing 4 years after the fact, then I just can't keep sticking my head in the sand, and I can't believe I'm accusing you of that. But here I am. When you have problems in the front court, again, what's so different from the problems that we've had each of the last 4 years in the front court, Anthony?
Everything you said is accurate.
Okay, then why are you belittling the caller and yelling at me?
Well, when you're saying Evan Mobley's an average player.
Okay, that part I obviously disagree with.
That's kind of a big deal. Like, you make
if
all
he was
NBA,
an average player, you wouldn't be calling in and bitching about him. So I disagree with him on that, but everything else, I can't just hang up on him once he says that.
So what are we acting as if we have more flaws than the other Eastern Conference teams? Like, they all have question marks. So I think these playoffs are going to be really hotly contested. I think they are going to be battles. I was worried about the Knicks, without a doubt. All year I said I think the Knicks were still coming out of the East, which was kind of disrespectful to what the Pistons have been able to do. And then that's not to mention what's happening in Boston with the amazing year they're having. And then they're adding we're adding James Harden. They're adding Jason Tatum. So they're going to have a totally different look here coming up. And the question is, can they get that to work down the stretch with not many games here? So I never said this was going to be easy, but I like the Cavs' chances so much more than I did, before the Harden trade and before bringing in Keon Ellis and before bringing in Dennis Schroeder. But they've got flaws, just like the Knicks do, just like Detroit does. And yeah, Boston has flaws too.
Well, the same question is going to be asked all week. You just lost to Oklahoma City. All right. It wouldn't have been that big a deal. It still isn't that big of a deal because they're a Western Conference team. So to me, it's not the end all be all, but it's still a big deal, right? Didn't have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. You're using this as a measuring stick game. It's a Sunday afternoon game, Sunday midday game. A lot of people are home to see it. I think a lot of people were probably watching maybe their fourth or fifth Cavs game of the entire year yesterday.
Jumping on
Wouldn't
late?
you be willing to say? No, I'm serious. Think about it.
Especially all the way through. I think yesterday was an all the way through game.
Yeah, there might have been people who watch like the first half of the games. And if good God, if you're getting blown out in some of those other games, you probably weren't watching the second half. But just consider this for a moment before I hit the calls again. 216-474-0092. You had a season last year. Owen brought it up, how he wasn't taking him seriously after Donovan Mitchell had said, well, we can go 82-0 next year and it doesn't matter. So then they make this move. The last time you saw them play was on Christmas Day. That was a major gathering game. Okay, they lost that game. They were up by 17 in that game. They ended up losing that game.
That was another 3 games in 4 days.
That was another 3. I understand. There might be reasons for it, but I think a lot of fans are going, yeah, when are you going to stop making these excuses for these guys and actually call them what they are?
No, come playoff time, there will be no excuses. But regular season games.
And I agree with you. I basically agree with you wholeheartedly in what you're saying about the big picture of stuff. But I'm not going to discount a fan who still considers themselves a Cleveland fan. And Cool Ray watches more than just 5 games. But I think there's a lot of people who are watching their 5th, 6th, 7th Cavs game of the year because of how they fall, and they really saw more of the same. And I don't like it, but if it's the same problem that you've had, and I want to get to Mike Rener here in just a second. Just let me finish this sentence here real quick. At the end of this week, you asked me yesterday, and I wrote the damn thing down. Is anyone afraid of the Cavs? That's always been a thing. All right, well, we're playing 2 of the top contenders in the East coming up this week. You got New York tomorrow night. Friday night, you're at Detroit. Up-and-coming young team, tough team. If nobody's afraid, we're going to have ourselves a very different discussion coming up on Monday. I hope you understand this.
I got you.
All right,
also,
so we're all true.
Cavs 3 games ahead of where the Pacers were at this time last year.
Let's go to Mike Rener. He's on the Make It Right Call Kyle Wright hotline. He's from CBS Sports, NFL draft analyst. Hello, Mike.
Hey, how you doing, fellas?
We're doing okay. Combine starts this week. And let me just come out and ask you, do both picks in the Browns' first round at number 6 and number 24, do they both have to be offensive guys, or can you go defense at either one of those?
I think you can go defense because there are certain positions in this draft that are stronger defensively, but I'd be very surprised, I'll just say, if they do go defense, because I think 2 positions that I think there will be value, whether it's at pick 6 or at pick 24, is offensive line and wide receiver. And it's like, what are we doing here if you don't go offensive line and wide receiver and there's value sitting there for you?
Well, obviously, the need, and this is what we've been stressing throughout the entire lead up, is offense, and mostly offensive line and wide receiver. So where are the prospects for you in terms of how highly rated these top guys are, where the Browns might want to get one of these and pounce with their first pick?
Yeah, I don't think there's any Joe Alt in this offensive line class, but I think compared to the guys last year, so I really liked Kelvin Banks and Armand Membu. I think their rookie seasons bore that out. I think the top guys in this are just a little behind them in terms of how good their tape is, but I think they're as physically gifted, and some of them are even more physically gifted. Like, I have Caden Proctor from Alabama as my OT1, and he is, he could be an all-pro someday. That's how impressive this guy is as an athlete. It's just the tape of these guys, whether it's him, whether it's Spencer Fano from Utah, who's my OT2, I think they're both high-end projectable athletes. They just haven't put on film yet the stuff that the guys at the top of last year's class did. Now, that's not to say they won't. They're both young, and that's kind of how it goes in the NFL draft, is usually the traits win out in the end. But I just don't know if you'll get the rookie seasons that we saw from those guys from this class.
Mike Rener joining us, CBS Sports. Follow him on Twitter, at @MikeRenner_. All right, can you find, not wide receiver 1 for the Browns, wide receiver 1 in general. Can the Browns get wide receiver number 1, a top quality wide receiver in this league, at pick number 24?
Ooh, that's going to be tough. I think once you get down to that spot in the draft, I think the names that will be there are guys like KC Concepcion from Texas A&M, who he can get open better than anyone on the Browns. He just has really bad hands. Denzel Boston, who isn't much of a separator. He's more of a possession type of wide receiver. And then Omar Cooper from Indiana, who's a good player, but probably more of a slot at the next level, good after the catch. I don't think wide receiver 1 is going to be there, but I don't know if you necessarily have to. I look at wide receiver cores like the Green Bay Packers, where you just have a bunch of good guys. I think that's how I would start, at least for the Cleveland Browns, if you don't draft one of these, Carnell Tate, Jordan Tyson at number 6 overall.
Okay, let me ask you another question then, because you mentioned KC Conception. Like, well, he's great. He just can't catch. Well, what's easier then? What's easier to develop? Is it a guy who can catch, or is it a guy who can run all the routes but can't catch?
It's harder to run all the routes, right? But it's also he's never going to look like Larry Fitzgerald. You're going to have a give and take there. And so I think he can get to the point where it's not a liability, but it's something you're going to have to live with. So that's why I'd still draft him in the first round and still draft him at 24 if he's there, because the getting open part's the harder one. But I do just have to caution you that that's the thing that you're going to have to live with.
Obviously, Mike, the Browns have 2 picks in this draft. And one thing I am hearing, and we'll see if that changes after the combine when everybody gets together and starts drinking and sharing war stories. But I keep hearing this draft is just not nearly that impressive. Obviously, that starts with the quarterback position, but also first-round grades that you might have altogether. And then add in the fact the amount of guys that decided to stay in college because of the paydays, meaning the middle of the draft might be a little more vulnerable. Is that too pessimistic a view on this draft?
No, I think this is kind of an inflection point of NIL money reaching the plateau or reaching this level where it actually convinced guys to come back. I mean, you have so few underclassmen coming out because they're weighing, go to the draft, maybe you're back into the first round, maybe you're into day 2, and you probably get more next year if you just stay at school. So like a lot of these guys are making more money in school now in college than they would be jumping in the NFL draft and being a day 2 pick. So you're seeing it at running back, where it's the oldest running back class I can remember. I mean, everyone besides Jeremiah Love is pretty much a senior or 5th or 6th year guy. You're seeing it at a bunch of different positions where it kind of, in quarterback too, where a lot of guys who could have 5 years ago would have come out in the draft because they would have been first rounders, said, I'm going to go make $5 million in school and probably up my draft stock for next year.
I just hate all the answers you're giving me, Mike. No, I mean, they're good answers. It's just like, because I think a lot of fans, I don't know where the Browns are going, to be honest with you. Can I just work through something here? They have so much that they need on the offensive side. They have a defense that I think is AFC Championship game quality on their defense. And so I think that they believe that they're closer than the rest of us do, but they have major, major, major needs on the offensive side. And so it's almost like, man, you got too much that you have to improve quickly, but it's almost like you're telling me there's nobody here that can really help us improve that quickly.
It would be tough. It would be very difficult to get that much of a turnaround right away. And that's any time, though, you're relying on a rookie class. Mm-hmm. But I think it's more – I don't think, pick 6, you'll get a great player. Pick 24, you should get a solid player. It's more like once you get to 39, once you get to 70, those are not going to be the 39 and 70 we saw last year, in my opinion. You can still probably get – it's obviously there still will be good players. You just probably going to look back 5 years from now, look at day 2 of this draft and be like, there's only a handful of guys that ended up being real stars from it. So that's more where my evaluation of this draft class is that there just isn't the depth, and then certain positions just saw a real drop-off.
Quarterback is obviously what everybody pays attention to going in every draft. Mendoza seems to have number 1 locked up. You agree with that, right? He's going to go number 1 overall?
I'd be shocked if it's anywhere else.
All right, where do you have him as a prospect if you start lumping him in other drafts? Say last year with Cam Ward, or the one where Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May. Where would you have him?
So in 2024, my rankings were I had Caleb, Drake, Nix, Daniels, and then last year I had Cam Ward, but I would have put him 5th in that class behind those 4 from 2024. I would have put Mendoza, given his tape, I would put him 3rd. So I would go Williams, May, Mendoza, Nix, Daniels, Ward for the last 3 years. So I think he's I'd call that a very good quarterback prospect because I really liked those other 5 guys as well.
So if the Browns at number 24 went and took Ty Simpson, you would say that's a mistake?
I would not. I might be higher on Ty Simpson than a lot of people. I think he's kind of like a NBA lottery pick where, you get to see the guy for 1 year. You liked what you saw for a little bit of it. You hated what you saw for some of it. But I do think he does a lot of NFL things, and I think he's very physically gifted. He's got a very good arm. He's a good athlete, and you didn't see it in the second half of the season because he was really banged up. He had a back injury and then a rib injury, and that's obviously not the best thing in the world to be that injured in your 1 year as starter. But I think it's makes you feel better about the fact that there was a chunk, probably from weeks 2 through weeks 8 last season, where he looked like a franchise quarterback prospect before kind of the wheels fell off. So I would take the risk, and again, especially in this class where it's pick 24. Like I said, the wide receiver you're drafting isn't a wide receiver 1. He's probably a wide receiver 2 or a complimentary guy. I'd take another swing at the bat just because it's that valuable a position, and he flashed enough for me.
Do you care what guys do at the combine, especially when there's a story that Mendoza is not going to throw? I see the Shedeur Sanders fans are all in an uproar because they felt like everybody dinged him for what he didn't do at the combine.
No. Why
are you laughing? Really wait. What's going on there, Mike?
Well, I'm laughing because there's different levels to these things, right? I mean, when a guy is the surefire number 1 overall pick, just won a national championship, you don't have to do the process, right? Like when you're Marvin Harrison Jr., you don't have to test pre-draft to go number 3 overall, right? Like when you're a guy, you don't have to. When you're one of many, that's when you need to separate yourself. And so I do like to see. I prefer a prospect to test. I prefer a prospect to do the process. I prefer him to do the interviews and all. Like, you prefer it. And so if it's guys that are close together and one guy opts out, one guy doesn't, probably going to lean towards the guy who didn't opt out.
Well, follow him on Twitter at Mike Rener _. Mike, thank you very much for the time. All the very best to you and yours.
For sure, fellas. Appreciate you having me on. Take it easy.
Mike Rener, CBS Sports, on the Make It Right Call Kyle Wright hotline. Well, I'll be dipped. What he just said should be great news for Andrew Berry. Let me explain in 5 on the Fan. Northeast Ohio Fence and Deck. Let me explain to you right now.
pick 6, you'll get a great player. Pick 24, you should get a solid player. It's more like once you get to 39, once you get to 70, those are not going to be the 39 and 70 we saw last year, in my opinion. You can still probably get, it's obviously there still will be good players. You just probably going to look back 5 years from now, look at day 2 of this draft and be like, there's only a handful of guys that ended up being real stars.
So this should be good news for Andrew Berry. And let me explain why. If you're doing this and you're saying, well, you're supposed to be in charge of our future, this is not a great draft. So, by the way, if you knew it wasn't going to be a great draft, like say you were Jimmy Haslam and you knew it wasn't going to be a great draft, then this would have been the year you moved on and you start with somebody else going, all right, it's not a great draft, but, we'll see. Or maybe you just look at it and go, well, he's been doing his scouting for 6 years now. If anybody knows how to roll up their sleeves and find good players, it's going to be Andrew, right? But it should be good news because if you don't have him in a year-to-year basis, which I don't think the Browns want to have him in a year-to-year basis. I think that that's the situation he's probably going to find himself in. I think it's a situation the Browns fans want him in. If you're not in a year-to-year basis, then I can't just judge you under this draft because you need so much offensively. What you're hearing from Mike Rener is that it can't all be addressed this offseason. So you're going to have, hopefully, some of those holes filled, but you're still going to have many holes on offense, which would then you'd turn right on around. This is what makes it so crazy for a Browns fan. You go, okay, who created all these holes here over the last 6 years, buddy? Yeah, I know, man. We're in a weird spot. But you're a general manager. Like, you could take a head coach. I don't approve of it. You could take a head coach and go, you better win now, or that's it. You could do it. And you might be able to get those results. I always go back to Jim Fossil. Went from nearly fired to the Super Bowl. Lost that Super Bowl, but still. You can always go back to that. Man, when you have a general manager is supposed to be a person who's good with your investments, a financial planner. Like, they're supposed to be thinking long game. It's supposed to be the guy on TV telling you about your retirement, long-term gains. It's not supposed to be a get-rich-quick scheme. And that's as... I don't like being nervous. I'm not going to sit there and be nervous. At the end, like, hey, you go 6-11, whatever, right? You are who you are. I'm not going to say I'm nervous. But if anything I'm concerned for in the future is like, all right, you get this last year and then that's it. All right, so we have to start all over again next year. You might as well have just done it before, which is something we've brought up before. You brought up before, like, oh, well, you would have just moved on from everybody. Because a lot of people are still pretty, mixed about where they feel that this season's going to be. Nobody's really saying 11 or 12 wins or something like that. But I think a lot of folks are just looking at it and saying it could be better than what it was last year. It could have been better than just this last year. So they could get to 7-8 wins, but 7-8 wins, is that going to keep your general manager employed? I hope so. This all has to end up somewhere, Tone. That's what I heard when I'm hearing from Mike Rener. Like, don't expect to make a big impact this year with these guys.
It is something. Notice we've had now 2 draft analysts without any provocation from us when asked about offensive line go, well, there's no Joe Alton this year's draft. That's two guys. Yep. And we're going to talk to McShay. We'll see what he has to say about it a little later in the week.
Should we actually ask Todd McShay later this week, is there a Joe Alton in this draft?
Well, if he says it unprovoked, like, holy cow.
Then we just need to record it and play them all at the same time.
Yeah, because, it's not exactly what fans wanted to hear. Like, in a draft where it would appear we still need a quarterback. Now, the receivers in every draft, there's never going to be a draft where people say, hey, there's no receivers there. I think the only issue when it comes to receiver is nobody's really saying there's a Jamar Chase in this draft.
No.
There still are good opportunities, but it's so tough. I keep coming back to this, like with Carnell Tate. Every time Carnell Tate's name comes up, and obviously Browns fans all know about Carnell Tate because we watched him, it's just weird thinking about taking a receiver really, really high and knowing he wasn't the best receiver on his team. That's rarefied air when it comes to these conversations.
It is, but again, that
doesn't mean he can't be a good player.
Yeah, that wide receiver who he's not as good as. A wide receiver could be a generational wide receiver. Like Carnell Tate could be really, really good just because you were playing with
think
a
of the
generational
LSU.
wide receiver.
Burrow's wide receivers.
Exactly. That's a hell of a point you make there. 216-474-0092. Do I really want to take this call or not? Do I really want to do it? I mean, today's the day you would do it if you do it. All right. I mean, he's called before, but Chris in Chicago, he's listening on the free Odyssey app. Hello, Chris.
Guys, great show. Well, I call in every now and then and talk a little bit about hockey.
You got 30 seconds.
Can.
Well, you got 30 seconds. Got to go quick now.
30 seconds. Kenny, Columbus folks are fans of the Browns, Guardians, and the Cavs. That's no secret.
Good for them.
Could you not be a fan, because you were talking about the NHL earlier, could you not be a fan of the Monsters parent club, the Columbus Blue Jackets? Just a question, because
I tried. I tried. I really couldn't.
All right. Fair enough.
There's other reasons, but I really couldn't. I can't put my heart into it.
By the way, Cleveland should have that team.
Well, yeah, but I mean, well,
another day.
Well, yeah, well, it seems that it just seems like Columbus gets everything over us. It seems anymore, but that's part of the reason. Anyway, Chris, thank you very much for the call and for listening. No, I tried. I there was one time years and years and years ago. I go, I'm going to be a hockey fan, and I've always, this is going to make John happy, always kind of like the Flyers. And I mean, I tried for like 2 weeks. I was in my 20s. And I'm just like, I can't. They're 6 hours away or whatever they are. I got nothing against Philly, but like, I can't. I'm not a Flyers fan.
You like Lindros?
I like Lindros. The Broad Street Bullies. The new mascot they have with the crazy eyes. I forget, Monster or something. I don't know. I forget his name.
Gritty's the best.
Gritty, that's his name. Yeah, John knows. Should just ask the Philadelphian here. But I just couldn't do it. And then I tried. I really kind of sort of tried to get into the Blue Jackets, so that just wasn't happening. And like, can't do it. Can't force it.
I miss Torts.
He was fun.
He was.
Yeah. All right, we're back tomorrow, 6 to 10. Go listen to Justin Terminy, Mike Rener. Amazing interviews, 923thefan.com. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a wonderful day, friends. Go Cavs.
Hey.
Even through the fights, go Cavs.
Sounds good.
Where's your entourage now?
Cool, I got on the last show.
Oh, boy.
This is an Odyssey Sports Minute.
Sponsored by Empower. Invest well so you can live a little at empower.com. Shades of 1980. Exactly 46 years to the day after that legendary Olympics, the American men have once again